and good morning. It is a Monday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. That would make me Glenn. He's Griffin. Hope you had yourself a great weekend. Obviously, it was a great result. Thanks to everybody who came and hung out with us for Project Game Day after the game. We do it every game day all season long. Project Game Day. Myself, Rita, Femi Ayanbadejo, KZ, Andrew Stecca, sometimes Josh Charles. We can't advertise him. He's not legally part of things, but, you know, pops in. That's our guy. We have a great time doing it, and it's exactly what you'd want. It's personality. It's not drivel. It's not just recapping, here are the statistics from the football game, and now here's John Harbaugh saying we're going to look at the film. It's what you want after the game is over. Project Game Day.
Well, I want my coach to look at the film after.
Yeah, okay, great.
For what it's worth.
Great.
Okay.
PressBoxOnline.com/GameDay. All brought to you by the Maryland 5-Star Bet Yard AI, Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbooks in Towson and Canton. Easy Pass. And HelpMyGamblingProblem.org. Coming up in a few minutes, our buddy Dan Wilcox will join us to recap yesterday. Also, Femi Ayanbadejo will check in with us as he does every Monday. And speaking of Mondays, Jeremy Conn joins us as well. That's all coming up on the program today. All right, so a couple of things here. First, the Ravens won. And I feel like it was a good enough win that it's avoided the people that want to do the bit where you pretend like the team lost. We saw a lot more of that, say, after the Cowboys game, where everybody wanted to pretend like the Ravens lost. I far less of that, despite the fact that, obviously, if Evan McPherson just makes a very makeable kick in overtime, then basically everything else about the game remains the same.
Well, it's the holder.
That's fine. I'm trying to derail this.
Sorry.
Everything else remains the same. And yet the Ravens get a different result. This is kind of what makes football so goofy, truth be told. It's why our opinions about certain things can be quite silly. Like, none of us were all that worked up about the Ravens losing in Kansas City, right? Like, the Ravens lost, but hey, they were right there, and they were within a toe. But if the Ravens had lost yesterday, probably quite a bit more worked up about it. It's just weird how these things go. Football's a strange, strange sport. Yesterday, the Ravens, we can say, did enough. That's the proverbial. Well, they did enough to win. And, yeah, they did because they won. But did they? Or did the holder dropping the ball end up being the difference? Like, that. This is the goofy part about football. So again, almost everything else would be the exact same story. But then we would have said, well, they didn't do enough to win. We're not showing our math when we say things like this. It's true because they won, but not because of what they did. Does that make sense? That doesn't mean that you apologize for it either. It doesn't mean that you pretend like they lost the football game. It's just a reminder of how weird the sport is. It's a strange sport, and we overreact constantly to various things. Truth be told, if Evan McPherson makes that kick, the reality is it wouldn't have been the end of the world for the Ravens. Now, the Bengals would have been in much better shape. But even at 1-4, I am not convinced that the Bengals are done. I get it. Their defense isn't very good. See the Ravens' defense yesterday? I'm not convinced of it. They still have Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, and that ain't going to be easy for anybody. And T. Higgins. And I don't buy that this means they're cooked just because they're 1-4. I still think it's going to be a battle the rest of the way. The actual storylines that come out of yesterday's game, on the positive side, Lamar Jackson is Lamar Jackson. Perhaps you've heard of him. He's extraordinary. He does things other human beings aren't capable of doing. And I think yesterday was a reminder of how silly some of these narratives have been about Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. Like, well, he doesn't win big games. Well, Lamar Jackson has two specific issues. One, he's got a losing record against Patrick Mahomes, which puts him in the exclusive company of literally almost everyone. I still think technically Joe Burrow has a winning record against the. I know they lost earlier this year.
2-1 or 2-2 or something.
I would think it'd be more like 3-2. I think we can double check that. I believe Joe Burrow still has a winning record, despite having lost to them earlier this year. But basically everyone else. I don't know. Maybe Tom Brady still finished with a winning record, but he's not in the league anymore. That's one of the issues, is he has a losing record against Patrick Mahomes specifically. The other issue being he has a losing record in the playoffs, which is true. In order to kind of avoid that, you got to be in situations where you can win multiple games in the playoffs, and that's not easy to do without making a Super Bowl run.
He's 3-2 against Mahomes, including playoffs.
That's what I thought. Those are the specific issues that he has. Somehow we extrapolate that because of laziness and say things like, well, Lamar doesn't win big games, which is as dumb gets. Or requires you to do an extraordinary amount of mental gymnastics in order for you to be able to decide what's a big game and what isn't a big game. It's almost overwhelming. It requires you to be like, oh, well, the 49ers game wasn't a big game because it was a non-conference game. It requires you to eliminate the fact that he's now at 5-1 against Patrick Mahomes, against Joe Burrow, and pretend like those games aren't big games. That somehow the Steelers games, which, truth be told, have not, if you wanted to add one more thing to the Lamar Jackson fire, you would say he doesn't have a good record against the Steelers. Ironically, those games haven't been the big games in recent years because the Steelers haven't been as good. It's a weird bit. Now, he needs to get better against the Steelers because he's going to keep playing them, and it's just bizarre the way that that's worked out. But we allowed that narrative to just dangle in the air like there's truth to it that there isn't. There's very specific Lamar Jackson issues. They're very specific. A couple people told me that I probably should have pushed back more. Stan seemed obsessed on Friday with the idea that Lamar Jackson can't throw the deep ball, which is, it's also bogus. Now, it's not really, there were bigger fish to fry, so I didn't spend a lot of time talking about it. Lamar Jackson's not a terrible deep ball thrower. A lot of quarterbacks miss on deep balls. You know why? Because they're hard. It's not something that, like, is just easy to do in the NFL to pinpoint exactly where a receiver is going to be. You know what makes it easier to do? When you have big body receivers with huge catch radiuses that also happen to be fast.
Or you have the guy that the Colts are playing at quarterback right now.
Thank you. Dynamite happened. All over it. We let these narratives linger. And something that you could say something like, hey, you know where Lamar's greatest strength is throwing the ball in the middle of the field. Yes, that puts him in the exclusive company, again, of, like, most everyone. The list of quarterbacks that are better throwing outside the numbers than they are throwing inside the numbers is who? Like, tell me who's on that list. But we do these things. Like, we create these narratives for Lamar Jackson like he can't do certain things, which over and over again we're reminded aren't true. And one of them that we bring up all the time, and I say we, it's the royal we because it sure as F isn't me, but one that comes up even from otherwise thoughtful people that aren't just nonsense spewers will say, hey, but Lamar doesn't really have to play in pass-only situations. He benefits from how good the Ravens are we've heard this a million times. Well, the Ravens have they've got a great defense and good special teams. Well, this year, not remotely the case. Not even in the realm of truthfulness. Although they were good defensively against the Bills. They do have that going for them. It's one. That's the...
And 3 quarters against the Raiders.
Okay. Yeah. Not the totality.
No. 3 quarters against the Cowboys as well.
You couldn't say the game. They were good defensively.
Best 3-quarter defense in the league, maybe.
Okay, maybe. They weren't good for 3 quarters yesterday.
No.
They weren't. They were good for a quarter, maybe.
They were good for play.
Yeah, they were good for, 2, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. But the point being, like, we want to do those things. And the special teams this year have been an effing abomination. Thank God Justin Tucker decided to be Justin Tucker again. Blessings be. But still, for the totality, the special teams, and clearly yesterday, a massive part of the story was how the game turned in a special teams moment. Because Tylan Wallace decided while he was standing at the 20-yard line to just go ahead and let a ball bounce at the 17 and roll all the way down to the 2. Which is unfathomable. And flip the script in the football game. Doesn't excuse Roger Rosengarten for missing a block, but again, one of them was a loss of 15 yards. The other one was a loss of 2 yards.
That happened to be on the 2-yard line.
Yes. Maybe the 15-yard loss was a bigger story. Maybe that's the one that you should deal with, is how that happens. Because anymore, it used to, back in the day, man, there was a time where you would let the ball roll inside the 20. Like, you would do that. But anymore, you fair catch the ball at the 7. The football has changed in that way. Is you stay that. Anything that's a risk of that ball being on the goal line, we are not doing that. You catch the ball at the 8, which would have never happened 20 years ago. 20 years ago, you would have been executed for putting a fair catch at the... I can't make that joke anymore. Twitter would boot me.
What, an execution joke? You can't.
Yeah, you can't do that anymore. You can't. Not allowed to.
Would it be the worst thing in the world if Twitter did boot you? Or
I don't know. Maybe. My life would be a lot better. Oh God, it would be so great. I could only pray for that. But the moral of the story being, special teams have been an abomination. Yesterday was a reminder, and it's this thing where we pretend like we don't know that Lamar Jackson can do it. We somehow criticize him for the fact that the Ravens play from ahead so frequently. Like, how dare you be good in the first half? As you know, the only football that matters is the football when you're not good in the first half and you have to come back from 2 scores down. That football matters. The other football doesn't. But you hear that from intelligent, analytics-based people. Well, you look in these numbers, and, boy, Lamar just really benefits from the Ravens getting ahead and what? You know why the Ravens get ahead, right? Like, you're aware of that. They don't put a different quarterback in the first half and then go to Lamar when they're up big to ice the game away. Like, you're aware of how they get there. So, again, these narratives, it's a reminder. And in a way, as came up on the postgame show yesterday, in a way, it sort of feels good. You don't want to have to go through it. You don't go into a game rooting for a team to fall behind by multiple scores. It's much better when you can play bully ball and win by 3 touchdowns. That's more fun. But when it happens, you acknowledge the benefit of it because the team is going to be in that position. That's the way football games go. I talk about the games in the margins. I did run the numbers on this. 52% of games last year were determined by 8 points or less. 52% of all NFL games are 1-score games. NFL games are close games. The thing that happened against the Bills is the rarity. That's the thing that maybe sometimes might happen. Overwhelmingly, you have to play close games. Overwhelmingly, the games are determined within the margins. yesterday the Ravens reminded everyone that while, they like to play bully ball and they would rather be playing bully ball, and I think some people wondered, it seemed like maybe on the second drive of the game they kind of started to get a little bit away from bully ball. But while that's a good way for the Ravens to win, teams now are expecting that, and they're going to stack the box. And if they do that, the benefit should be for you to be able to open things up and make plays to the outside. That should be the benefit of teams stuffing the box. We talked about that all offseason. And they reminded everybody that they were very capable of winning in that way as well. Not without a little luck. That's football too. There's luck everywhere. There was bad luck for the Ravens that they didn't get the obvious face mask called against Mark Andrews in the fourth quarter that would have extended that drive and continued to give them an opportunity to go down and score a touchdown that would have avoided overtime and not given the Bengals a chance to answer back. Would they have gotten it? I don't know. Can't tell you that. But they were robbed of the opportunity because of bad luck. So to apologize for the good luck that they get, well, that would be silly. There's luck within every football game. They got good luck yesterday when the Bengals decided to just settle for a long field goal attempt. And in fairness, it's easy for us to say, like, boy, the Bengals really screwed the pooch there. You can have an operation problem on a short field goal as well. The notion that if you don't handle the snap, then you're just going to make a 38-yard kick anyway, that's a bit rich. But still, it was a questionable decision, particularly given how porous the Ravens' defense had been. That was good luck that the Baltimore Ravens had, but they had bad luck yesterday too. Again, what happens with that ball that Tylan Wallace doesn't field does keep rolling into the end zone. Luck is part of every football game. It was good to see the Ravens win a football game in a different way. It was a pleasant reminder that they aren't limited to either they're going to play bully ball or they're going to be in trouble. It was nice to see them face adversity. They've struggled against adversity a lot in recent years. We talk about it constantly. Things start to go south, and that wasn't the case. It was defensively. They could not find a tourniquet defensively. But the answer was, okay, fine, we'll just go back down and score again. Fine. Until they finally made one defensive play, which was the one they needed. Really good win. Really good win for a really good football team, and things still have to get better. I mean, the criticisms are fair. The defense was a mess. The pass defense, it's no longer an anomaly. They have problems on their pass defense. Femi thinks it's communication. I'll let him talk about that a little bit later on this hour. He doesn't think it's scheme. He thinks it's specifically communication between the guys on the back end. Maybe. There's not a whole lot of new parts there. Nate Wiggins is the only real new part. And these issues this season started before Nate Wiggins even got on the field. So how does that happen? It's like one thing if guys aren't used to each other and like, hey, this is what you're supposed to do. That just seems odd, but I'll let him try to explain it a little bit more. They've got to solve that. And maybe it is a personnel thing too, right? Maybe they need to have more Nate Wiggins snaps moving forward. Maybe there's the Marcus Williams thing might just not be working, and they might have no choice but to say, dude, we paid you a lot of money, but we can't just keep leaving you out there. It ain't working. And if that means we got to put an undrafted rookie on the field, that's what we're going to have to do because this can't be the answer. I don't know. We'll see. The John Harbaugh thing from the end of the first half, unforgivable. There's no getting around that. And he'll avoid the wrath of the fan base because they ended up winning the football game, but there's just no making, and it's not all on John Harbaugh. There's a communication thing there that's got to, like, does he not know that Todd Monken is calling a run play that essentially is waving the white flag? Or is he not thought through? If they've not communicated, hey, John, if we get 5 yards here, then yeah, let's call a timeout, and then we'll try to pick up a third and manageable. But if it doesn't go our way, then maybe we just acknowledge that, it's not happening on this drive, and that's not the end of the world. We'll go to the half with a lead. How does that happen? I don't know. I don't know. And for a lot of reasons, we'll never fully get the explanation of how it happens. John, what he said after the game, in some extent works, right? Like, hey, we thought we needed to score a bunch of points yesterday. Well, okay, I can agree with that. But in that specific situation, going for it on 4th and 1 was ballsy. Ballsy. But I've said this a million times. If you don't have the tush push should benefit the offense. If you are in 4th and less than a yard, you should always be capable of picking it up. You should always have some sort of play that you can run, that you have practiced a million times, and that you know you can go and force your will with. Now, it doesn't work 100% of the time, and it might very well be that even the Eagles have failed on a tush push before, and they do it better than anybody in the history of football. But it should be something that you have such high confidence in that you should be able to run it. And the Ravens did. Fine. I wouldn't have done it. In a million years, I wouldn't have done it. I was stunned that I thought it was just them trying to draw the Bengals off sides, and that was, once they didn't do that, they would have just punted. I thought that was what was going on there. When they actually snapped the ball, I said, out loud in front of my 7-year-old, uttered an expletive. But they got it.
They knew it was 100%. So.
They got it. Fine. The moment you call a run play on 2nd and 10, there has to be a level of communication there. Hey, we get a few yards, we keep pushing for it. Get this thing into 3rd and manageable, we push for it. And maybe they really did expect that play was going to get them 5 or 6 yards because they thought that they would catch the Bengals sleeping a little bit, expecting them to keep throwing the ball. But the moment you don't, better decisions have to be made. The incongruity between those two things, between running the ball on 2nd and 10 and getting no yards and then calling the timeout, that math will never math. And because the games are determined in the margins, got to be better. Today's show is also brought to you by Live Casino and Hotel. Griffin, what's going on at Live Casino and Hotel?
Well, every time that Baltimore's football team or Washington's football team scores a touchdown during home games at Live Casino, Live Rewards members will be receiving $7 in free slot play. You have to have your Live Rewards card inserted correctly into the slot machine, any slot machine on the floor, and be actively playing in order to receive your prize, a $7 free slot play. But once Baltimore or Washington scores a touchdown, and guess what? Baltimore's at home, and they just scored a lot of touchdowns on the road. So you could maybe think they might be scoring some more. So you can get $7 in free slot play when they score. Have your Live Rewards card inserted into the machine. At Ronald Mills, must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
All right. Had to do this a little bit earlier today, but a chance to catch up with our buddy Dan Wilcox on GCR. And, of course, coming off that wild win for the Baltimore Ravens yesterday, who else do we want to catch up with than our friend, the host of the BLeav in Ravens podcast? He is former Ravens tight end, Mr. Dan Wilcox. Dan, I've seen a lot of things, man. I've seen a lot of crazy, crazy football games. But, bro, that one yesterday was right up there, dude. Thanks for taking the time for us.
Man, I appreciate you having me on, Glenn. I agree with you 100%. I felt like everything that could possibly go wrong for Baltimore went wrong, and we still found a way to win the game. That's the sign of a great team, of a championship caliber team. When you see those type of things happen, I'm excited about the Ravens.
I'm really glad you said it that way, Dan, because that was like the only take that I could come up with immediately after the game, which is just like, hey, look, there are still the defense was an issue yesterday, and there were decisions that were weird. But ultimately, the story was somehow, some way, they figured out a way to win the football game. And you need a little bit of luck involved with that, but that's football, right? It works that way sometimes. And I do think, to your point, like that really good football teams do that. They figure out a way when their backs are against the wall to somehow walk out of a game with a W.
Yeah, man, it's been a tough season already. And, we had those 2 losses early, one against Oakland and one against the Kansas City Chiefs. And then when you look back, you start to be like, dang, man, we could easily be 5-0 right now. And that's kind of how the Ravens start off kind of every year. You lose a couple of games that you're scratching your head, why you lost. Sometimes it's players, sometimes it's coaches, but when you win a game like this, of this caliber, going into overtime, having to claw your way and fight your way back into the game every single series, it was like this big gunslinging grudge match. And when you think about it, man, I think Harbaugh said it best after the game, man. It was a great team win. It took the offense, it took the defense, it took special teams, it took the coaching staff, it took everybody to win this game. So, I was super excited. I don't know how we came away with the win because it didn't seem like in the fourth quarter it was going to be ours. But those are the ugly wins that you need sometimes to kind of build a character inside that locker room to get these guys on the same page.
Dan, when I say the words 3 tight end offense, does that sound like a symphony playing in your ears?
Man, it reminds me of the Darnell Dinkins, Daniel Wilcox, Todd Heat days.
Man,
yeah.
It is wild.
I love it.
Like, so, do you feel like this is something that can be sustainable, that the Ravens can interchangeably use all 3 of these dudes in different ways all season and keep defenses head spinning?
I absolutely think so. It's one of those things where you really take a look at every single team that you play. Every team has different defenses, and you're going to have to scheme against those defenses. You want to attack their weaknesses. You don't want to attack their strengths. You want to take advantage of everything they're going to give you week in and week out. And it's going to be some games where 3 tight ends on the field may be your best solution. And, Zay Flowers may not get as many balls or as many touches, So it's just, to me, you got to take advantage of what teams are giving you. If they're really weak on the outside, on the corner spots, then you got Rashad Bateman, Zay Flowers, Aguilar got to have a freaking day. But if they're weak in the inside with the safeties and the linebackers and, the tight ends, let the tight ends have a ball. Why not? And then you just, you always do your box count, 7 or more in the box, you gotta throw that, you don't want to run it. If they only got 6 in the box, run it every single time. 6 or less in the box, run the ball every single time. Derrick Henry may have a field day on some teams because of that. So you do what you have to do to come out victorious every single week.
Well, and I think that was one of the encouraging things from yesterday, that like in the 2 weeks prior, we saw a lot of, hey, they won, dominating, playing bully ball. They showed yesterday that they can do it the other way too, right? Like if they have to go away from the run, they're plenty capable of winning that way as well.
Yeah, it didn't seem like Lamar threw the ball 48 times, but he threw the ball 48 times.
Right.
That's a lot, That's a lot of freaking drop back in passing, man, and he did a phenomenal job. He started off kind of slow, and as the game went on, he started turning to Action Jackson and started turning into Houdini and started making some plays happen that are very typical of a Lamar Jackson type player, and I was excited to see him kind of get into a rhythm. And Cincinnati, you got to take your hats off to Cincinnati, man. He did a phenomenal job of trying to mix things up defensively to confuse us and to keep us on our toes.
He is Dan Wilcox. He is with us here on GCR. Dan, I'll bring it up and we can have some fun with it. Obviously, a lot of conversation last week, and I know you guys will be talking about it on BLeav in Ravens, surrounding the social media activity of one Davante Adams, who was trolling the idea of coming to Baltimore. And it's funny because there's like these 2 very divergent opinions. There's the group of people in town that are like, hey, yeah, always. They want every player. Like every time anybody's name comes up they've heard of, they're like, yeah, make that guy a Baltimore Raven. And then there's the group of people that say, hey, things are going pretty well here. Maybe you don't want to rock the boat, right? Like maybe the offense is in a good position and you don't want to bring in anybody else that might screw that up a little bit. Where are you at about the idea of Davante Adams or another maybe high-level wide receiver heading up to the trade deadline here in a few weeks?
I don't know if you rock the boat. I really don't, man. If you watch the BLeav in Ravens podcast like the last 2 weeks ago, I had Keon on, Ray Lewis's little brother.
Yeah, Keon Lattimore. Love that guy. One of my favorites.
Yeah, I had Keon Lattimore on. Yep. And then I brought up the notion of how many reps offense normally gets per every game. On a good game, you're going to average between 60 and 70 reps per game. But on average, it's usually roughly about 60 reps per week. And when you have 60 reps per week, you got to think about who's going to get the ball 60 times. You're gonna break, if you break that down, Derrick Henry has to get the ball at least 10 to 20 times a game. Justice Hill maybe another 5 to 10 times a game. Lamar Jackson probably 10 times a game. You're already at freaking, 40 snaps right there. So you only got 20 snaps left. You want to try to get the ball to Zay, Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, Charlie Kolar, Aguilar, Bateman. And then when Keaton Mitchell come back, now you got another issue. So now if you bring somebody in like Devontae Adams, who should see at least 10 targets a game, along with Zay Flowers, it's going to eliminate some of your real key guys. It's going to start to cause some kind of dissension into the locker room, and guys are going to feel like they're not good enough. And if you watched the show last week, we had Brian Billick on, and he pretty much said the exact same thing. Like, you got to worry about the chemistry of your team at some point, and bringing in a guy like Devontae Adams, who wants the ball, who craves the ball, who deserves the ball, who's that phenomenal that he should get it. Now you're really rocking the boat. Now it's going to take carries, or it's going to take passes away from guys that you already have. And we have a pretty dynamic roster. This is a pretty stacked offense right now.
Can I ask it this way, Dan? Do you think at all about but guys are going to get hurt, and they're going to get hurt after the deadline when you don't have the ability to go trade for somebody? And then maybe even add in the idea that, like, hey, if you make the move, then Kansas City can't. Or then, some of these other teams that you might end up competing against in the AFC. Buffalo looks like they could use a wide receiver badly at this point. Does any of that matter to you, or is it still not? I can't weigh that over the impact that it's going to have on your own team.
Well, when I look at where we are in the receiver room, I feel fine with where we are. We also got Tylan Wallace that's just kind of sitting back there, not getting much reps at all.
It was nice to see him get involved, especially after that punt issue early on in the game. It was going to be a tough day for Tylan yesterday, but he ended up making some really nice catches.
Absolutely, man. So I feel like we're stacked in the receiver room. I don't feel like you ruffle those feathers at all. If it was a next year type thing and you bring a Devontae in, I say go for it. But right now, I don't think it helps your team. I think if anything, it kind of, puts you in a worse situation. And I think Monken is starting to kind of get comfortable with the talent that he has, and he's starting to try to figure out exactly how to pass this thing around, try to get everybody involved on these wins. You see, Likely had 2 touchdowns yesterday. Kolar had a touchdown yesterday. Bateman had a touchdown yesterday. This was a good vibe. It was a good move, man. And Zay had over 100 yards receiving still. And it was like his first game that he's had. I think he's went off for 100 yards. And it's because you have so much talent, and you got to decipher who you're going to get the ball to. It's only so many reps you get every game. With 60 reps, and you got about 9 guys that spread the ball out to, man. It's kind of hard to decipher that. So you got to be careful. I knew I was only gonna get the ball 2 or 3 times a game when I played.
And you were cool.
At the most spots.
You were cool. I can live with that. I'll make the most out of those 2 to 3 times. That's the way that
I
did.
I did. And you got as an OC, you have to figure that out. And then once it leaves the OC's mouth to the quarterback, now Lamar has to figure that out. Because if we don't get the ball and we're wide open, we think it's Lamar's fault. So he has to take that heat.
That's true.
So
that's true. That's the way it works. That's the way it works. He is Dan Wilcox, BLeav in Ravens. Another couple of minutes with him here on GCR. Dan, I feel like you and I talked after week 2, and everybody brought up that the pass defense was the bottom of the NFL, and I was very dismissive of it. Hey, that's an anomaly. But here we are now after week 5, and it continues to be an issue. And obviously yesterday it was a dramatic issue. Can you look at that still as like growing pains with a new coordinator, or at some point do you start to feel a little bit alarmed by how, for most of the second half yesterday, it was easy doesn't even think it's the right word. Like, it was almost no restriction whatsoever for Joe Burrow and for the Bengals offense trying to go down the field.
Yeah, Joe Burrow and the Bengals are like our kryptonite, man. Every time we play them, it's like something dramatic happens. Jamar Chase goes off for 200 yards almost every time we play them. That was before Zach Orr. So, it can't be a Zach Orr issue all of a sudden. To me, I think what happens is anytime you get a new player that comes on the field during the game, a good offensive coordinator is going to go at that guy right away. Like, as soon as you get a new DB or a new safety or a new corner or a new linebacker coming the field, you're going to run the ball at that linebacker, and you're going to throw the ball at that corner, and you're going to make them have to earn their check. So when you get a new DC, I think every offensive coordinator in the league licks their chops, and they try to figure out how they can exploit the new DC. The new rookie defensive coordinator that comes in that's kind of that's learning himself and trying to figure things out, and he's putting in his coverages and stuff, and he's talking to the secondary and his coaches on the staff to try to figure out what's the best thing to put in. And as they collaborate and put these plays in, these coverages in, the other teams are scheming them against those plays. They put in cover 3 beaters and cover 4 beaters and cover 2 beaters and cover 1 beaters to try to beat you. And your guys have to just play more solid. Sag a little bit more or settle. Don't give up anything over the top, but take everything away. Take everything away over the top and come up and corral and make tackles. In front of you. And a lot of times we're missing tackles and doing things like, Jamar Chase took a freaking tunnel, like not even a tunnel screen, just a regular screen to the house about 70 yards yesterday. When you see those type of things, those are just missed tackles and great blocks by the receivers on their side of the ball and us just not being in position to make a play. That's not the DC fault. You got to come up and make a play. You got to make a tackle. You see all these dramatic plays that happen week in and week out, and we just got to do better as a defensive team of corralling and getting to the ball and making tackles, man. We got to get back to playing Ravens football. We commit to stopping the run, but then we give up pass plays that we shouldn't give up. And with the DBs that we have, there's no excuse for some of the stuff that we're giving up. We just got to do better.
Can you walk me through, because, everybody will point out it was Chase yesterday. In week 2, it was Avonte Adams. In week 3, it was CeeDee Lamb, although it took a little while. But, the Ravens, it feels like philosophically over the years, like it's not Zach Orr. It feels aren't the team that says, hey, whatever we have to do, this one guy isn't going to beat us. Like they don't do the Bill Belichick thing where we say we will pay all of the attention to this guy and you let other guys beat you. And I bring that up with a lot of people around the league, and they say, well, that's not really common. Like teams don't really – the other players are too good. These are NFL players. You can't just say, so be it, we'll let this other guy beat us because he's going to beat you. What do you make of the thought process of maybe the Ravens, specifically given the way that we've seen these 3 wide receivers eat them alive this year, maybe should adapt more of that Belichickian philosophy of whatever we do, we will send all of the attention towards this one guy and not allow this one guy to be the one that beats us?
I agree with that. I agree with that philosophy hands down. That was Rex Ryan's take. That was Brian Billick's take. That was Harbaugh's take when he first came in the league. We're going to always take away their best player. On offense, we're going to eliminate the best defensive end, whoever their rush end is. We're going to chip them. We're going to help them out. We're going to double team them. We're going to triple team them. We're going to do whatever we got to do to take it away. There's no different from another team putting a spy on Lamar Jackson. You know how dynamic he is.
Sure. Keep
him in the pocket and then put a spy on him. If he tries to step up, man, you go make a play. So to me, that's what you have to do. You have to put your best player on their best player, and you got to tell your best player to man up against him. The problem is in our secondary and at the cornerback position, I'm not sure who's our best corner anymore. I'm not sure if it's Marlon Humphrey. I'm not sure if it's Brandon Stevens. I'm not sure if it's the new kid, Nate Wiggins, who I still think hasn't came into his own yet. And then we have some other guys that played, last year, and we've got a couple guys that are down and hurt right now too as well. But I'm not sure who's our best corner. Marlon is, by far had the most interceptions this year. I think he got 3 on the season already, and he getting them in very pivotal times of the game. So if I had to lean towards anybody, I'd lean towards Marlon Humphrey. He's the old savvy vet back there, but then again, at the same time, he's been banged up and hurt so much that I still think he's a fraction of what he used to be.
All right, before I let you go, the line is out for Ravens Commanders, which is it's so juicy. But the Ravens are favored by a touchdown in that game, and that feels like some Nick Saban rat poison to me. Like, that feels really icky to me, man. Like, this is Jaden Daniels that we're talking about. Like, Dan Quinn feels like he's got something cooking there. I feel like this game screams this is going to be a lot more interesting than them coming in here and getting their brains beat in by the Ravens on Sunday.
Yeah, I love Dan Quinn as a head coach. I went to spend about a week with him when he was down here with the Falcons. My old coach from Baltimore, Wade Harmon, was the tight end coach for the Falcons. So, go ahead, Glenn.
No, go ahead, Dan. I had forgotten about that entirely. That's cool.
Yeah. So I spent the week with Dan Quinn and the Falcons when he was down here. I love him as a head coach, man. I would run through a brick wall for Dan Quinn, and I think that's what you're seeing is happening right now in Washington with the Commanders. He's taking his young quarterback, and they've inserted him into a role the right way, and they've nurtured it, they've fed it, they've babied it the right way, and they've treated it the right way, and they're allowing him to do the things that make him successful and it's starting to show up big time for the Commanders, man. I'm super proud of that organization, super proud of that team, but at the same time, they got to see us this week,
Yep.
so I'm ready to see them fall to the wayside. This will be their first L of the season, and I believe wholeheartedly that the Ravens staff will take this game as serious as it is, and then they will put in the right things to stop Jaden Daniels on defense. And on offense, we'll do everything we can to protect our quarterback, Lamar, and we'll push this ball down the field to our key guys. And I think it's going to be a heck of a battle. This is that battle of the Beltways thing that we've always dealt with, the battle of I-95, who owns the territory. A lot of their fans are our old fans when we were the Baltimore Colts. It's time for us to go get those fans back.
Amen.
So I would love to see us come out of this thing victorious. A touchdown, to me, sounds about right. I think it's going to be a very close game.
All right. You remind everybody real quick about BLeav in Ravens?
Yeah, absolutely. Join us for the BLeav in the Ravens podcast, man. We usually shoot 2 times a week. Last week we had Brian Billick on. We got another special guest coming on this week. We'll shoot again and record on Wednesday of this week, man. It's a good friend of mine, a former player of the Baltimore Ravens. Ooh. And I'm excited, man. The podcast is taking off and doing really well, and I want to continue to push it and continue to do great things with it.
Love it, brother. Dan Wilcox, always appreciate you, man. Hope you, the family, are good, and let's talk again real soon, all right?
Absolutely, Glenn. Thanks for having me on, brother.
Thanks, as always, to Dan. Femi Ayanbadejo joins us next. It's a Monday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. Brace yourselves for an unparalleled in-person betting experience at the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbook and Bars in Canton and Towson. Experience the thrill of live betting with Baltimore's only state-of-the-art Vegas viewing TV experience. Choose between our on-site tellers or the convenience of our self-bet kiosks to place your bets. Gather your betting buddies and head over to the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbooks today. Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbooks in Towson and Canton. The ultimate destination for game day excitement, great food, and live in-person betting. Must be 21. Please play responsibly. Gambling problem? Go to mdgamblinghelp.org.
Hey Baltimore, it's number 10, Arthur Millette, and I'm hoping you'll slot us in all season long for the Arthur Millette Show. We will be traveling around the region all season, giving you the chance to get to know me and my teammates. There will be some football talk and a lot more. You can watch this show live on PressBox's Facebook and YouTube pages and listen every Friday night on 105.7 The Fan. Find out more at PressBoxOnline.com/Millette. The Arthur Millette Show, the only show in town that's a work of art.
The next Arthur Millette Show is Tuesday, October 1st at the Green Turtle in Towson. It's brought to you by Easy Pass and 1-800-GAMBLER.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
The ultimate fan experience awaits you at Sports and Social Maryland. See how we're raising the sports bar with our massive 100-foot media wall featuring 40 HD TVs and a 47-foot big screen. Bet on your favorite teams and this year's biggest events at the FanDuel Sportsbook while enjoying your favorite beers and cocktails, plus our delicious takes on bar food classics. Visit Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
The drug scene in Maryland is changing. Fentanyl and xylazine are being added to street drugs, and you may not even know it. Xylazine is not even intended for humans, and fentanyl is an opioid 50 times stronger than heroin, and contributed to over 80% of overdose deaths in our state. Anyone who uses drugs, even occasionally, is at risk of overdose. To learn more, visit stopoverdose.maryland.gov or call or text 988.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an Easy Pass from DriveEasyMD.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your Easy Pass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your Easy Pass account. There, you just saved money with Easy Pass, all without slowing or receiving a notice in the mail. Well done, thrifty driver, well done. Get your Easy Pass at DriveEasyMD.com.
Contrary to what some people believe, I actually like this guy when he sleeps. Glenn Clark, talking sports.
Back in here on GCR as we continue along on a Monday edition of the program. Speaking of things that are back, the CIAA tournament is back in Baltimore February 25th to March 1st at CFG Bank Arena. And if you go right now to CIAAtournament.org, you have like 2 days left to take advantage of $75 off your week-long pass for both the CIAA men's and women's basketball tournaments. Save $75. It's usually $275. You can get your week-long pass every game, every day for just $200 if you use the code SCHOOL75. Again, CIAAtournament.org is the website. Take advantage of $75 off your week-long pass for the CIAA tournament back in Baltimore in 2025. Let's continue to dissect the Ravens' overtime win in Cincinnati yesterday. This man, of course, a Super Bowl champion, part of our Project Gameday postgame show. He's our buddy Femi Ayanbadejo, and he's back with us now here on GCR. What's going on, brother? How are you?
I'm doing good, man. It's always a much better Monday after a win, right? We've been treated with 3 in a row, so 3 good Mondays in a row.
No doubt about it, dude. Hey, I was really a couple of your takes from yesterday that I wanted to share in case people didn't get a chance to hear them. Number one, we were talking about some of the defensive struggles yesterday, and it's always easy to point a finger towards the coach, to point a finger towards the coordinator. You don't specifically think that the scheme is the problem defensively right now for the Baltimore Ravens. Can you sort of flesh that out for everybody?
Yeah, no, when I'm looking at the calls and I'm looking at the disguises that they're running, they're making it look like zero coverage. They're dropping 3 guys out into coverage. And the key is you can't just blindly drop to an empty space. Like, it doesn't make sense, right? In zone, you have an area, but drop to a man. You know what I mean? Like, make sure you're dropping to a space where you're covering somebody up. And so I think that takes repetition and time. It takes live bullets to do that. And I'm looking at some of the drops out of zero coverage and disguising. They leave me a little wanting. I'm looking at some of the communication on the back end between the corners and the safeties. It leaves me wanting. The right plays are called, and players have to execute at some point. So, I was very optimistic about Zach Orr's ability to call defensive coverages and to be good at it. And he's shown me that he is going to be good at it, and he has been good at it. And he's improved massively from week to week. Coaches improve just like players do. And I do put the onus right now, from what I'm looking at, I'm putting it on the back end. The DBs and the safeties aren't communicating. And let's just be honest, Marcus Williams is not playing well.
Yeah.
A little further analysis, Eddie Jackson's just playing okay. Marlon has evened out his bus with big plays. Marlon Humphrey has. So, I still think there's some work that can be done. And in regard to Nate Wiggins, I think he's doing what he should be as a rookie. He's making plays. He's in position. Clearly has a high ceiling, has extremely talented, amazing speed. He's going against some of the best receivers in the league. So I don't put anything on him at this point. And then Brandon Stevens is doing Brandon Stevens type things. He's always in position to make a play. Now, whether he locates the ball and makes that play or not, sometimes he does, sometimes he does it. Against the Bills, he did it a lot more than he did yesterday. But you're going against the best 2-dual tandem in the NFL, you know what I mean, with T. Higgins and Chase. So it was a shootout yesterday. It got ugly at certain times. We went to dark places mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. But we pulled it out, man. And that's all you can do at the end of the day. You win a division game on the road. You always celebrate those. You look at the tape objectively. You don't get emotional about it. And you go make the corrections. But the secondary has some work to do, in my opinion.
I think there's no doubt that that's the case, and I appreciate that. And I am, look, my concern about Marcus Williams specifically might be at this point that he just might not be the same player post the injury. When we were talking about playing with one arm in the past, that was one thing. Like, it just feels like he's not the same guy anymore. Now, there's plenty of time for him to change that, obviously, but boy, it's starting to trend in the direction of that being the case.
Like I said, let's make it objective, right? When we look at the PFF numbers, and I put a lot of stock into PFF, is it the end all be all? No, but is it a metric that's consistent that I trust based on the inputs? Absolutely trust it. He's not playing well. I think he is at the very, very bottom of the PFF rankings for free safeties.
Correct.
So that just tells you what you need to know. You know what I mean? Yeah, I don't want to kick a guy while he's down, but you know how the NFL is, right? You either get with the program and figure it out, or you get replaced. And I've been the beneficiary of both those things. And I've lost on the other end as well. Whether I've been hurt and shouldn't have been out
Somebody
there,
else,
exactly. It's the nature of the business. So I mean nothing against him by it, but I do think he knows that he needs to play better. And it's pretty obvious at this point.
I think my other favorite take from you on postgame yesterday, Femi, was your reaction to the Davante Adams stuff. And it's funny because it's an opinion. Our friend Dan Wilcox was just on with us, and he had the opinion of don't rock the boat, right? And what you said, I think we get lost in this sometimes. I think we say something that sounds really intelligent when we say, hey, it's going well, don't rock the boat. But what you said to me was almost next level from there.
Yeah, I just don't get with that. And no player, no coach, no front office person is going to say that either. More talent is more talent. And you can go from a blessing of talent to guys getting dinged and hurt real quick. And you get real thin real fast. And players at the NFL level and coaches at the NFL level always want more ingredients in the fridge, so to speak.
Yep.
Because they can do more things with it. They'll find a way and they'll find a place and they'll find an opportunity. And the thing about Davante is if you listen to him talk, he knows what he'd be coming here for. He'd be coming here to win a Super Bowl. And when you come here to win a Super Bowl, you do the dirty work. This is not a diva place to come, and he understands that. So even that adds, in my opinion, that bolsters my point about having more talent. Now, I think you and I are on the same page. Do I think he's going to become? No, I don't. If he does, likely, amazing, right? Amazing if he does. It'd be a blessing in disguise if he does, right? Actually, it wouldn't be in disguise. It'd be a blessing right out.
Obvious.
Everybody would be like, holy moly, right?
Right.
Yeah, it'd be obvious. So, but I don't think it's going to happen, but I'd love to be surprised by it. And we'll see where it ends up. But
I think there's almost a parallel there, Femi, to what happened with Odell Beckham, right? Where like Odell Beckham had this like kind of weird reputation of being a diva type. Whereas every time you talk to somebody who played with Odell Beckham, they were like, dude, I love that guy. Like, he was great. And you realize, like, oh, right, that's the way this works with, like, the media and narratives and all of that nonsense. It's not really true. And he comes to Baltimore despite the fact that he wasn't getting the ball a ton, and he's not only never a problem, but the guys around him rave about the impact that he had, and he made a handful of big catches that proved to be really important for that team a year ago.
Yeah, I think it's all about setting expectations and transparency, right? When Odell came here, he knew what he was coming here for. He was coming here to play with Lamar, and he was coming here to win a Super Bowl. And they were one step away from that mission.
Yep.
So I think Odell got exactly what he wanted out of his experience in Baltimore, and I think the Ravens got exactly what they needed out of Odell. He sprinkled in a number of big plays throughout the season. You know what I mean? And I think he clearly wasn't his healthiest. He clearly isn't very healthy right now. I don't know how much he's played in Miami. If he didn't play at all
I don't
yesterday.
think he's played at all, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So buy low, sell high, right? I think what we needed out of him. I think it was a win-win for everybody, but I think Davante is in a much better place than Odell physically.
I take it back. He did get on the field yesterday, but yes.
Okay. I thought he did. Yeah. But he's just playing, and Snoop Huntley's out there playing quarterback right now. Yeah. He's still learning the offense. There's no Tua. So I don't expect the Dolphins' offense to do much. So I don't expect Odell to do much unless Tua gets back out there. Even then, who knows where he is health-wise. But that being said, Davante's in a much different place than Odell is in regard to what he's able to do today as a number one receiver.
One more. It was funny hearing you and Ken talk about, like, I think everybody is juiced up about Jaden Daniels versus Lamar Jackson this week. I mean, it is. Yeah. It's almost a crime. It's a 1:00 game. I know players all prefer 1:00 games, but like, it almost feels like it's a crime to the league that this is a 1:00 game this week, and that not the entire country is going to be able to see it. That said, like, hearing you guys talk about it, like, maybe a little bit of confidence that if there's a fear, and look, the number was set at 7, right, for this week. So clearly the folks out in Vegas think something similar to what you guys are thinking, which is as exciting as the Commanders are, and as good as we know Jaden Daniels is going to be, maybe we pump the brakes a little bit going into this week.
Yeah, I want to be careful because I don't want to come off as looking past anybody.
Right.
But I think the Ravens are a completely different animal than anybody that they've played, and they're going to have to come here and do it. Now, the 1:00 game, in my opinion, benefits Washington because I don't think the Ravens are going to be and I want to be very nuanced with how I say this because it's a subtle point that I'm trying to make.
What you're saying is, Griffin, don't tweet this out exactly like that. Let him explain it.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that there's levels to this, right? And I would be shocked if Washington, based on the young team, the new head coach, I love what they're doing. I think they have a bright future. I thought Jaden Daniels was the best quarterback, coming out of the draft, in my opinion, most complete quarterback. And so I think they're going to be really good for a long time, as long as they can kind of just keep building on what they're building. But you got to show me. And to me, to think you can jump from the level that they're at to this level and then come in here and win, I would be absolutely shocked by that. Now, is it possible? Of course it is, because anybody can look past anybody any given week. And I think that the newness of Washington, it being kind of a 1 o'clock game, getting lost in the shuffle, I think it does them a favor, actually. I don't think there's going to be as many eyes nationally or as much talking nationally as there would be had it been a primetime game, which then, the Ravens internally are like, oh, primetime game, big lights. Oh, yeah, we about to show up and do it, right? So just a subtle thing. Like, I'm wondering internally, I know the Ravens will say all the right things, right? That's a cognitive thing. An emotional thing is a little bit harder to fake, right? Like, once the game starts. And I'm very curious to see if they come out guns blazing, put their foot on their neck, or is it a little bit of a feeling out? You know what I mean? I'm curious to see how that goes. At the end of the day, I think this is a game the Ravens should win. And this is the kind of game that the Ravens should probably win. Now, I don't think nationally people are going to be saying the stuff they were saying about Detroit last year and San Francisco and how the Ravens have no business winning those games. You know what I mean? Like, everyone favoring the Detroit. And I know that I think the Ravens were favored at home, but I know that the Niners were favored in San Francisco. But it's the talk, right? It's the chatter. The Ravens are respected, but I think underestimated a lot. I don't think that's going to happen as much, and I think that plays to Washington's favor a little bit emotionally.
All right. What did we learn for BetYard AI this past weekend?
Yeah, we killed it this week. We had 10 games that we highlighted. We won 6, we lost 3, and we pushed 1. The game that we pushed was the Colts game, Colts Jacksonville.
Okay.
Joe Flacco was out there doing it, right? Really, really good week. Go to betyardai.com, get your free week, and we have that performance guarantee. If we're not 50% or better on our predictions, you get the next week free. So it's a win-win for everybody. Yeah. So we're really happy with the performance the last couple of weeks.
That ain't bad. It sounds like there was a lot of money to be made this past week if you had just been signed up with BetYard AI. And can they still use the NFL 30 codes?
Absolutely. Yep. 30% off still. We have 1 tier now. So we've kind of streamlined everything. We're keeping it super simple. NFL 30 for the 30% discount, and you're ready to rock and roll.
Is this just for dumb guys like me? Do you feel like a week like this is just now we've had 4 weeks worth of data, and that helps the AI, that helps the system in moving forward? That like it just takes a couple of weeks of absorbing all of that.
Well, yeah, we came out of the box blazing once again. I've been saying that phrase a lot lately. I'm not sure why, but all of a sudden, yeah. So we came out of the box blazing last year, and we never really dipped. I think this year there's been a lot of volatility, and I think a lot of it is the young quarterbacks. It's the new coaches. But look at the Ravens, right? They lost Anthony Weaver, right? They lose Mike McDonald, right? And the Ravens there was an adjustment period. So the Ravens didn't quite play up to snuff the first couple of weeks, but guess what? The last 3 weeks, they're doing it, right? AI is no different to some degree. We've got to learn the new teams. We've got to learn the effects of the new coaching philosophies. Teams go up and down. Look at Washington. Who could have predicted a worst to first like them? It happens every season, but people don't know who it's going to be.
Yep.
Look at Atlanta right now. Atlanta's right there playing well also. So Pittsburgh started undefeated. Now they're 3-2. So the NFL is anything but volatile, right? Like you don't know what you're going to get sometimes, and it takes the AI and the system to kind of learn and understand. But guess what? Now we have a quarter of the season. We're getting closer to a third of the season under our belt, and the data is showing it. And there's things that we see in the background that we don't necessarily get to share with our customers, but we're feeling really, really good about the direction we're moving, and the ability to tighten up and to increase our accuracy rate going forward.
Love that. BetYardAI.com, again, is the website. Femi, appreciate you, brother. Let's talk on Sunday following Baltimore, Washington. Thank you as always, my friends.
Thanks. Good to see you.
It's Femi Ayanbadejo, Super Bowl champion, with us here on GCR. I guess maybe we should transition from that to picks. I don't want to. Although, actually, it was a better week for me.
It was.
It was better.
Actually a pretty
It was not
respectable week.
No, not respectable.
I mean, for your standards.
Sub 500. Yeah, it was better, but it still wasn't good. That's the reality.
More of these weeks for you, and you never know.
I don't know.
You never know what.
It means I'm in trouble. That's what it means. It means somehow John Proctor went 7-2 this week. He was the high water mark for the week.
He's running,
I was like, oh man, I went 4-5 this week. That's not so bad. Until I looked up and saw that everyone was over 500. Everyone.
I don't think I did.
Except for Andrew Stecca was 4-5. Oh no, you also went 4-5. So you guys joined me. But I didn't gain any ground on you. I just didn't lose
you did not.
any further
Which
ground
is good news
on
for
the
me.
two of you.
I enjoy not gaining ground.
Ridiculous. All right, we'll do picks recap and into hour number 2 of GC. I'm pretty sure that's the only reason why Proctor has stayed. He was just waiting for this moment. He wanted he wanted the stupid here comes the money. Money. He wanted that coming in. Settle down over there. Yes, I followed the money this week with my picks. I don't know how many of them I would have definitively gone the other way. I definitely would have gone the other way on the Ravens game. So that one cost me. Remember, I was hemming and hawing and considering whether or not I changed it, but decided I was committed to the picks, so there was nothing I could do about it. I was stuck with it at that point. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I would have gone the other way on. I got to be honest with you. Oh, that's the that's the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase. He screwed up. He wanted Shane McMahon. Here comes the money.
Oh, okay.
Money. It's fine.
I'll find it.
It's not that important, Griffin. I wish we would focus on the things that mattered most. I don't know what else I would have definitively gone the other way on. I think I would have stuck with I think I would have had a 5-4 week instead of a 4-5 week if I would have gone.
Who knows? You might be kicking yourself come February.
That might be the one.
Come February.
Right? That might be the one. 1 year I lost. The only year I ever lost, I lost because we did a drinking show that year, but it was a little bit of a different drinking show because we had to have. And Jeremy and I weren't allowed to be the ones that were getting breathalyzed during the show by the police that year.
Weren't allowed?
It was very specific. They needed people that met very specific qualifications.
What didn't you meet?
I don't know, Griffin. I think legitimately we were too old. I think that was the deal. I think it was supposed to be the cutoff was 35 maybe at that point. We were both 36.
So you lucked out.
Or no, I was 36. Jeremy was older than 36. I think that might have been the cutoff for why it couldn't be us. So we brought in other listeners and friends.
Under 36-year-olds.
Yeah.
35-year-olds.
Yeah, to be 35 and under, to be our targets for this wet lab. And I had said during picks that day that I would allow them to change any one of my picks.
The
drunks.
Oh.
The drunks. And the drunks changed. It was a Ravens pick where I think I picked against the Ravens. And said they weren't going to cover, and the drunks were like, no! What's wrong with you? Jerk! Ravens! And I was like, all right, I said I would let the drunks change one of my picks. I lost by 1.
The drunks.
That 1 was the 1.
Wow.
Yeah. I think actually I tied, and I lost by the tiebreaker, and I would have avoided losing because of that. Anyway, the moral of the story is let's get into it. Picks Recap is brought to you this week it's brought to you by the print issue of PressBox, which is still available for like another 8 days at your neighborhood Royal Farms, any of the hundreds of locations around town where you find PressBox. You can read it all at PressBoxOnline.com. Kyle Hamilton's on the cover. Go get it while the getting's still good. Before it's gone, daddy gone, the love is gone. This print issue of PressBox is available right now. Alas. The good news from the week, Navy pounded Air Force. All over Air Force. Jeremy Conn, unfortunately, was the only person that was on Air Force, so it didn't help us for the most part, those of us that got it, but it certainly hurt Jeremy Conn. That we got that going for us, which is nice. Lot to like about Navy, man. So much to like. They had a couple of like little mental lapses in the second quarter, but that's a really good football team. They beat Air Force 34-7. Eli Heidenreich is going to join us on the program tomorrow. who had over 100 rushing yards and 100 receiving yards.
That seems pretty good.
Yeah, it seems all right. And they get a week off this week before they face Charlotte, I believe, coming out of the bye. And then the Notre Dame game is after that. And unfortunately might end up being the difference maker in whether or not they can get into the playoff. That even if they were to win the AAC, if they lose at Notre Dame, like Boise State, the committee is going to work overtime to try to get Boise State into the playoff because Ashton Genty is a legitimate Heisman Trophy candidate. And they are thinking ratings, and they are thinking if they have any opportunity to put Boise State in the playoff, as long as Ashton Genty stays healthy, then they will do their best to try to get into the playoff. And this point, people pointed out, Army's also undefeated, so that could be really interesting. Army-Navy, it could be the most compelling Army-Navy game of all time. But a huge win for Navy. Congratulations to them. Very, very impressive performance on the road at Air Force in a 34-7 win. Ohio State, boy, they started slow, man, on Saturday. I watched.
This was like the worst non-ranked versus top 10 team game to pick.
Yeah, all of the game. It's funny because going into this week was a dud on paper, right? Like, God, all these games suck. And then you have Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt beat Alabama.
Jeez.
And Arkansas beat Tennessee. And we did pick Miami Cal. That ended up being obviously a thriller. What was the other one? Oh, Washington beats Michigan.
Yep. Minnesota beat USC. I guess that's less so.
But still, right? Like, it's a bummer for I think CBS because they had Penn State USC this week, and that was that was gonna be a big game. Just a lot going on the docket on Saturday. We picked Ohio State, Iowa.
Which went as you would expect.
Well, it didn't because Ohio State was only up 7-0 at the half. Like, at the half, you were like, "Ooh, I don't know that they're going to end up covering." That's a good distance to try to cover 3 touchdowns, but they did. They finally got things going in the second half, and they cruised to a 35-7 victory. So they do get the cover there. Only Steck, Paul Valley, and Ryan Shell were on Iowa. We were very much split on Miami Cal, and Cal looked like they were going to win. In fact, it looked like they were going to win going away. The spirit of game day. They were all.
You didn't want them to go there.
I mean, anyway. Although I did enjoy the nerd signs. I did enjoy you're blocking the library, you jerks, and the. I only do lines of code was pretty good. Like, there were some good nerd signs at Cal on Saturday for game day. Anyway, in the end, Miami does win by a point, but they certainly don't cover the 10. We were pretty split on that one. Thursday night, all Tampa had to do was just stay in field goal range. Maybe get a first down late. Just anything other than that. But they couldn't do that, could they? Had to give the ball right back to the Falcons. Falcons end up covering. We were pretty split on that one. Jeremy, Joe, John in Little Rock, and KZ and Kyle were on Atlanta. Got that point. The Vikings, I remain convinced that I am correct that the Vikings are not as good as we think they are. And, we continue to see them just not be all that impressive. Here's the 2 things that I did not give the Vikings enough credit for. Number 1, their defense is excellent. Beyond just their defense is good, their defense is outstanding. 2, their offensive line is bonkers. I did not realize how good their offensive line is. Now, I don't know if there's an update yet on Aaron Jones today. That hurt them, and it allowed the Jets right back into the game, and they had a chance at the end. But Aaron Rodgers, he don't look like Aaron Rodgers no more.
Who's that? Whose voice is that?
If I'm Devontae Adams, I am not interested.
No, he's gonna fix him. That's what it is.
Yeah, you go right ahead. That last interception was brutal, dog, and it looked like the Jets had the momentum, and it looked like nope, not the case. So Minnesota covers. That was James Revere, John in Little Rock, John Proctor, KZ, and Ryan Chell, who were on the Vikings. Boy, again, Buffalo, Houston. What in God's name is Sean McDermott doing?
He's trying to win the game.
Yeah. If you think, I swear we do this all the time. All the damn
What
time.
happens when they win on a 98-yard touchdown?
I had somebody who said, yeah, right. I had somebody who said this to me yesterday, John Harbaugh's got to be the worst in-game. And every time I say this, I'm like, you're just saying you don't watch football. That's all. When you say that, I get it. I'm frustrated by it too.
Watch any college football game ever.
But like, it's not even college football.
I know, yeah.
It's all you're saying is I don't watch football. This is all the time. Last night, we'll get to the Dallas Pittsburgh thing in a second. Dallas has 1st and goal.
That'll be just
with 40 seconds left. Oh, you didn't stay up for it.
Not.
You don't do mornings anymore.
No, I don't. But I wasn't feeling the hottest yesterday either, so I was like, what, I'm not sticking it out for this.
All right.
I think I made a good choice.
They got 1st and goal with 40 seconds left. Pittsburgh only has 1 timeout left, and Mike McCarthy takes a timeout.
Got to get the right play call in.
He takes the timeout. And they damn near scored on the next play. They came like a yard short of scoring on the next play. So all he would have done is save 30 seconds for Pittsburgh to have a chance to go back down and kick the field goal to tie the game. In-game coaching, this is what you get.
Well, he probably also knew this is Pittsburgh's offense.
Right, yeah, it's going to take them 6 years to try to get down the field. I hear you. They didn't need to call a timeout. Now, in the end, I guess you could argue. Now, they needed to get up and get the play run. Like, they couldn't purposely try to run all 40 seconds off and leave themselves with 1 play, but they didn't need to take a timeout. They had plenty of time to get up. Oh, God, it was unbelievable. It was unbelievable, man. I mean, God bless them because they won, but still, Jesus. Anyway, in-game coaching is a debacle, and yes, if you missed it because you were watching the Ravens yesterday, Sean McDermott decided to air it out from his own 3-yard line, 2-yard line, 2-yard line.
They were deep,
and all it did was give Houston the ball right back to line up a game-winning 60-yarder for Kaimi Fairbairn as the Texans win. And that means that they also covered because they won by 3. James Revere, Jeremy Conn, John in Little Rock, John Proctor, Kyle Ottenheimer, and Ryan Shell all get that point. Washington, Cleveland, the Browns are an abomination. The Browns are a crime against humanity. There's a visual from yesterday where it looks like Deshaun Watson just basically overrules Kevin Stefanski in a 24-3 game.
I think I saw that.
Where I guess the explanation is that apparently they had too many men in the huddle. So
Rappaport tweeted it out too.
Yeah, like you can't. Everybody was like, "Dude, what is going on here?" Because it just looks like Deshaun Watson essentially says, like, "Not Chief, we're not doing this." And then apparently we found out later they had too many men on the field, so they were going to have a penalty anyway. So that was really what happened. Is Deshaun Watson was like, "Why run a play if nothing good can come out of it? Let's just take the penalty, move it back, and try the field goal." Still, it's bad. Kyle Ottenheimer, Jeremy Conn, and Griffin Bass were on Cleveland for that one. So
line didn't make sense. Apparently line was not. Line didn't make sense for another reason.
It didn't make sense because it should have been 50. God, the Browns, they're the bad. I just mentioned the Dallas-Pittsburgh thing. Dallas does go on the road and beat the Steelers, so the Steelers fall back to 3-2, now tied atop the AFC North with the Ravens. Andrew Stecca, myself, Paul Valley, Ryan Chell, John Proctor, and Joe Serpico were on Dallas. And I followed the money, and I screwed up because I allowed that to make a Cincinnati pick, which I did not believe in my heart. Although damn near came through. Obviously, in overtime. It didn't work out for me. It did work out, however, for Griffin, James, Jeremy, John Proctor, KZ, Kyle, Paul, and Ryan Shell.
I went 3-0 in college football, but
that was your only NFL win? Rough. Well, I only got 2, so I mean, it's not much better. Yeah, I am now very much by my lonesome at the bottom of the table. I am 10 games back at first place. I am 3 games back now.
Oh, man.
Of John Proctor and second from the bottom. Vice. We don't have a Scott Stapp punishment. What day is the Creed show, by the way?
November 20-something-ish.
Yeah. Are you excited?
No.
What's wrong with you?
Why do I want to
go see a concert? It's going to be
do anything else.
It's going to be electric. I've seen Creed twice in my life, which is twice in the same summer. I've told the story before. I'm going to choose not to tell it again. I'm going to choose. If you haven't heard that story,
I have a friend of mine who is a Creed fan. He might just be going.
So you think he might just end up?
I have to find him.
All right. Anyway, yeah, I am.
Get him to entertain me.
I'm 19-32. It's really bad. Proctor's 22-29, 3 games clear of me at the bottom of the table, and avoiding the couscous polenta, whatever the hell thing is. The Paulista. And all of the other Brazilian-themed punishments for the loser. Right now, Ryan Chell remains atop the table, 29-22. He had a nice 6-3 week. Once again, he's 2 games clear of Kyle and James. High water mark for the week was John Proctor at 7-2, getting a little bit of space at the bottom of the table. I'm below 40% for my picks.
So if you just, I don't know.
Oh, John
you
says
just pick the opposite of everything. You'd be in
the reason why his picks were so good this week is because he went to a very disappointing Orioles game and drank a lot of beers. And so the beers fueled his picks. So
shouldn't be allowed.
I would say that's more cheating than me following the money. I mean, the alcohol make that the decision.
What 2 did he get
so
wrong?
Yeah, he might just
he
have
got Miami wrong and Tampa wrong. Those were the only.
How about that? All right, there's our picks recap. Now to Pats on the Ass. Pats on the Ass are brought to you by Live Casino and Hotel. Griffin, remind everybody.
Every time that Baltimore or Washington's football team score a touchdown during home games, Washington was scoring a lot over yesterday. Every time they score a touchdown during home games, though, Live Rewards members will be receiving $7 in free slot play. You have to have your Live Rewards card inserted directly into the slot machine, any slot machine on the floor, and be actively playing in order to receive your prize. But once Baltimore or Washington scores a touchdown during home games, Live Rewards members, $7 in free slot play. At Ronald Mills, must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
All right, you know the drill. Ravens win, so you pick 5 Ravens. 2 must be offensive players, 2 must be defensive players. The 5th can be another special teams player, another offensive player, another defensive player, special teams player.
Chris Collier and
and Tylan Wallace, special teams player, or a coach. Take that group of 5, rank them 5-1, with 1 being your man of the match.
I wanted to actually do Reno for the Bengals, the punter holder.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, it don't work that way. Somebody was trying to give credit to Kevin Harlan in Pats on the Ass because he
never missed the fourth quarter.
Yeah, for doing the announcer jinx. I would just like to give it to Kevin Harlan for being Kevin Harlan. I would like that to be the case because he is the best. To me, the 2 defensive players, it was fairly easy because there weren't that many to pick from, other than the 2 that ultimately made plays when it mattered. Nnamdi Madubuike is my number 5 because on a day where the defense wasn't very good, they needed to make a couple of plays late, and we know who made the other one, but the Bengals still got the ball. When Justin Tucker made that kick, we were very excited for a minute because Justin Tucker made a big kick. And then there was the immediately following
Bengals got 90 seconds here.
Yeah, game's over. Game's over. What are we doing? All they got to do is score 3 points. And they get the ball at the 30 to start anymore. Like, game is over. And the only difference is that they had one play take them out of schedule to start that possession because Nnamdi Madubuike was able to force them into a 7-yard loss with a huge sack to start that drive, and that made the Bengals second guess all of their decisions moving forward and what it is they were going to do. It ultimately led to them going with a draw on 3rd and 17, and they were willing to play for overtime at that point, and it starts with somebody had to step up and make a play, and Nnamdi Madubuike did that, and that is good enough for him to be number 5.
Yeah, he's my number 5 too. I came really close to throwing Kyle Hamilton on there just because he's really good.
He had a sack.
But he had a sack. I mean, he had one of everything. Like as you kind of expect at this point. But yeah, I mean, just the magnitude of. I mean, It's the Bengals still felt like they should have been able to run another play right after that.
Well, they did. They did try to throw the ball on 2nd down, and it was incomplete.
Was that the Wiggins breakup? Or,
yes.
Like, he was one I also thought
so.
about for a second, too. But, yeah, Madubuike was
yeah,
huge.
I thought about Wiggins, but he got away with a big pass interference. Like, I can only give him so much credit for that. Like,
but, yes, for the first one here, I do agree Nnamdi Madubuike as number 5.
Really tough for me to pick a second offensive player because there were a lot that were deserving. But, again, based on expectations and delivery, I decided to go with Charlie Kolar as my second offensive player, so he's number 4 on the list. Completely understand everybody that went with Zay. To a lesser degree, if you went with Derrick Henry, and I think I saw somebody do that, fine.
I don't know.
Like, Rashad Bateman had a nice day. Like, I can understand some of those picks, but, like, Charlie Kolar, I had zero expectations for. I mean, he's a non-factor and stepped up and made huge plays. He also had that great quote after the game. They're paying so much attention to Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely that they leave the fat white guy running open down the seam. That was a good quote.
And I think he also said he was like, I'm not going to be able to answer any of your questions seriously, just so you guys know.
Like me some Charlie Kolar, man. That guy's a winner. And, of course, he also was the guy that they lined up under center and took the snap on the 4th and 1. So, yeah, Charlie Kolar is my number 4.
Yeah, that's a good one. I had Marlon Humphrey as my number 4 here. For the interception. Not the most perfect game, but
I hear you, but the play was so important.
Massive play.
Yeah, it was high.
Joe Burrow with 5 touchdowns and counting is driving down the field for, again, like the 5th consecutive time, it feels like.
And trying to get all he's trying to do is get them to be able to take knees and end the game.
Yeah.
But
I'm sure they would have scored if they really wanted to. Or if they had a chance to score, they would have scored. But Marlon Humphrey stepping up and, strapping up Jamar Chase and coming up with a big play and not giving Burrow a window there. That was a massive interception. Felt like the biggest play of the game until there were 5 more other big plays of the game.
Well, I think it was the biggest play of the game. It's higher on my list. My number 3 is where we find Justin Tucker. Like that is still that's an outdoor 56-yard field goal, win or lose, right? Like you miss that kick, none of the other stuff will matter. If he misses the kick, the game's over. And by the way, he hasn't made a kick since all of the disaster. They didn't try a field goal last week against Buffalo. That was his first field goal attempt of the game, right? Was it the first? Hang on a second.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, they didn't attempt one. Yeah, because it was 35.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
That's his first field goal attempt since the Dallas debacle. Yeah. Now, the one at the end, that one, my God. I can't give him too much credit for the one at the end.
Game winner. What are you talking about?
Yeah. But that one, that's the money kick. That's the outdoors, day where there's a breeze, everything that he's been going through. A lot of us thinking the Ravens should not have even lined up for that kick. And again, it was a little bit about Justin Tucker and a lot about, I think if you give them the ball back, you're losing. So I just go for it on 4th down myself. Massive. I mean, just massive. Justin Tucker's number 3.
I had him 1 slot higher on mine. I had my second offensive player, Ronnie Stanley, was my number 3 here. He had a really good game.
Yeah, he ended up off the field a little bit, and he
missed 2 plays, and because he was throwing up, like that's how hard he was going out there. And he was throwing big blocks. Tylan Wallace obviously had a big block on the final Henry run as well. Before that, the longest run of the game was like a 20-yard little run that he pulled from the left tackle spot and was Lamar's lead blocking on the right side. I thought Ronnie Stanley had a tremendous game, and he missed. I think the one play that he did miss was when Lamar stiff-armed Hubbard and threw that pass to Likely. But Ronnie Stanley had a great game. He was my second offensive player, and everyone was very deserving. Zay, you could have thrown Likely, Kohler. Like I think everybody Likely not giving up on that play to be open.
Make yourself available.
Yeah,
yep.
So.
Number 2 is where I put Marlon Humphrey just because the significance of the play. Like, again, this is a game over if you don't do something, and none of us believed they were doing something. Like, we just all said, it's what it is, man. Like, the defense cost them today. God bless Lamar. They did their part, but the game was over right up until it wasn't. Massive. Everything is going the wrong way. Everything. Nothing is going right. They weren't getting enough pressure at that point. They weren't covering anything. No one was making plays. They were bleeding out and saved by Marlon Humphrey defensively. So Marlon Humphrey was number 2 for me.
Tucker, my number 2.
All good. It was a massive kick. And, of course, number 1 for the day, it's Lamar. What are we doing? I could do a bit. It's not worth it. Lamar's number 1. He's Lamar Jackson. We can get into I do, when it's a fumble, I have a problem with it. That's not a fumble yesterday. That's you're not on the same page with your center and ends up being a disaster in the process, right? Like, we'll call it a fumble, and he's going to be hard on himself, and I appreciate that. He should be hard on himself because it could have cost them the game. Like, not being able to catch a snap could have been win or lose in that football game. So I appreciate how hard Lamar Jackson was on himself. But it's a little bit different than trying to do too much downfield and having the ball knocked out of your hands. Lamar Jackson's unbelievable, man. It's unbelievable. I don't, everybody's like, he's right back in the MVP conversation. You know who said he's atop the MVP conversation today?
No. Who?
The one guy that didn't vote for him last year.
Oh.
Aaron Schatz sent out a tweet about, and there was some irony to it, but
I thought Ashton Genty might be the MVP of the NFL.
Jesus Christ, Ashton Genty's unbelievable.
I'm trying to think who else would be MVP.
Well, 2 weeks ago
Sam
it was gonna be Josh Allen. Yeah, I mean Sam Darnold. The truth is, and that's the tricky part, is this goes back to the Justin Jefferson is the MVP of that team. Like that. This is the thing that we're not allowed to do because we only let MVP be about quarterbacks. We just decided nobody's allowed to be considered.
Or should be Harrison Smith.
Harrison Smith's been really good. But the MVP of that team is Justin Jefferson. And you saw it if you watched the game yesterday. The Jets just sort of said, we will foul. Justin Jefferson's statistics do not reflect how significant of a difference maker he is.
They said grab him and hold him.
They just said whatever you can do. And the one scoring drive they had in the second half was entirely about Justin Jefferson penalties. Justin Jefferson would be the MVP. If you wanted to have a conversation about it, we would have to have a conversation like adults about it. Sam Darnold's been, it's a neat story, and he's been so much better than we would have expected him to be.
He was not good yesterday.
Yeah, the MVP of the team is Justin Jefferson, and deserves to be. If the Vikings keep this up, Justin Jefferson should be in the conversation. I do believe that, but we just don't allow. We're only allowed to let quarterbacks be the MVP of the league for whatever.
So I guess it'll be C.J.
for
Stroud
reasons.
then. Or?
C.J. Stroud would be in the conversation. I mean, that. That's the. But by the way, if somehow the Commanders continue this, Jaden Daniels would be in the conversation because he's been that good. But yeah, it's limited at the moment because none of us are overly impressed by the Chiefs. Now, this could end up defaulting back. We could get to the end of the year and be like, right, Patrick Mahomes made this work with Xavier Worthy and Juju Smith-Schuster.
And 35-year-old Travis Kelce.
Yeah, who's barely involved. He's the MVP of the league. We could get back to that point before the season is over. That's very plausible. But yeah, at the moment, if you ask me to power rank, sure, I'd say probably Lamar 1, Jefferson 2, Jaden Daniels and C.J. Stroud 3 and 4.
Dak Prescott for jumping on that fumble at the goal line last night.
God bless him. You could actually put in Nico Collins into that conversation in Houston too. That Nico Collins has been unreal.
They're saying he's day-to-day now.
Collins?
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't seem like it was. I mean, it's not good if you have him, but it didn't seem like it was
Tank Dell, so maybe.
Maybe. Or
take a week off, maybe.
Yeah, or he'll be right back out there.
Yeah.
Nico Collins is nuts. And Baker Mayfield, if the Buccaneers would probably work into that conversation a little bit as well.
Kirk Cousins now that he's throwing for 500 yards.
Yeah, I mean, he had a hell of a game. He had a hell of a game, but I don't think I could put him in the conversation yet. All right, continue to get me your pats on the ass at Glenn Clark Radio on Twitter. Someone is winning a $50 gift card to the Costas Inn, and it's the Costas Inn. Oh, I found a picture of their barbecue shrimp up there. Oh, God, I got to get over there right now. CostasInn.com is the website. You want $50 to spend at the Costas Inn? Then get in with your pats on the ass, and someone will be chosen at random. At Glenn Clark Radio on Twitter. That's all you got to do is get in your list. Again, 2 offensive players, 2 defensive players. The 5th can be whoever you like. Rank them 5-1. Not that hard. When we come back in, Jeremy Conn joins us as he does every Monday. That's next. It's GCR.
The ultimate fan experience awaits you at Sports and Social Maryland. See how we're raising the sports bar with our massive 100-foot media wall featuring 40 HD TVs and a 47-foot big screen. Bet on your favorite teams and this year's biggest events at the FanDuel Sportsbook while enjoying your favorite beers and cocktails, plus our delicious takes on bar food classics. Visit Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an Easy Pass from DriveEasyMD.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your Easy Pass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your Easy Pass account. Learn more at DriveEasyMD.com.
PressBox's Project Game Day is the place to be after every game this season. Join Glenn Clark, Rita Hubbard, Super Bowl 35 champion Femi Ayanbadejo, and our cast of regulars as they break down what happened, why it mattered, and what it means moving forward. You can watch the show at PressBoxOnline.com/GameDay or PressBox's Facebook and YouTube pages. Project Game Day is brought to you by the Green Turtle Sportsbook in Towson and Canton, Easy Pass, and HelpMyGamblingProblem.org. So join us for Project Game Day after every game day this football season at PressBoxOnline.com/GameDay.
Treat yourself and taste the Baltimore tradition that is the legendary Costas Inn. Hey, it's Stan the Fan Charles. For over 50 years, the Costas Inn has been a Baltimore original, dishing out their legendary fat, delicious, award-winning crab cakes and steamed crabs. It's crab season, so sit back and crack some crabs while watching the Birds pursue another divisional title on Costas' 15 TVs. On Monday night, the Costas Inn offers their half-pound jumbo lump crab cake with 2 sides for under $30. So head on down to the Costas Inn today at 4100 North Point Boulevard or visit them at costasinn.com.
The votes were all counted, and the results are official. Royal Farms was named #1 for food in the USA Today 10 Best poll, receiving more votes than any other convenience store chain in America. The next time you want to get some good food fast, doesn't it make sense to go to Royal Farms? Voted best in the USA and home of world-famous chicken. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Brace yourselves for an unparalleled in-person betting experience at the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbook and Bars in Canton and Towson. Experience the thrill of live betting with Baltimore's only state-of-the-art Vegas viewing TV experience. Choose between our on-site tellers or the convenience of our self-bet kiosks to place your bets. Gather your betting buddies and head over to the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbooks today. Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbooks in Towson and Canton. The ultimate destination for game day excitement, great food, and live in-person betting. Must be 21. Please play responsibly. Gambling problem? Go to mdgamblinghelp.org.
Coming back in here with Glenn and the other guy, Garrett, whatever his name is. You know who they are.
All right, back in here on GCR. Tomorrow night, we will be at Mother's North Grill in Timonium. Yes, doing back-to-back weeks for the Arthur Millette Show. Come join us tomorrow night. Mother's North Grill will be celebrating a big victory with Arthur and a special guest. It's all brought to you by 1-800-GAMBLER at helpmygamblingproblem.org, as well as Easy Pass tomorrow night. Myself, Rita, Arthur Millette, his special guest, the Arthur Millette Show, Mother's North Grill in Timonium. We will see you there. To find out more, go to PressBoxOnline.com/Millette. It is a Monday. This man survived his sleep study, joining us now once again here on GCR. He's our friend Jeremy Conn. What's going on, brother? Did they fix you yet?
Well, I don't get my information for, they said 7 to 10 days, and I was glad I finally contacted my doctor because I said, I've been going on about 10 times a day trying to find out what's wrong with me, but it'll probably be at some point this week that I get it.
And we're like, wow, this is the longest erection I've ever had in my life. 7 to 10 days.
Is this thing going to ever go away?
Right. So I had to call your doctor.
I keep pounding it, but nothing happens.
Right, I get it. I completely understand. I saw you had a nice day yesterday. I apologize. Man, this is how this goes. I didn't even know about it until Facebook sucks, man. Like, the way they serve things. I found out about this last night. I got served. Yeah, and I feel terrible about it. But you guys had a nice day yesterday, huh?
Yeah, look, it was a nice day. My buddy Berto, who I've known him for years, I actually rented a room from his dad when I was going through my divorce. But he used to work at Pizza John's, created his own pizza company now. And, like, he came to me with this idea about doing a fundraiser to raise some money for Mo and the foundation, and he wants to make it an annual. And I'm like, all right, anytime somebody comes to me with an idea and they're going to do a bulk of the work, I will show up and be a part of it. And he and his team did everything. So, and it was kind of like we were trying to find a road game, for the Ravens where we could watch the game there. It was really cool. There was a cheesesteak food truck. There was he was making pizzas. and then they had drunken ice cream and milkshakes and things like that.
That's
so
awesome.
it was a nice crowd, but I'd like to grow it next year and hopefully get the word out a little bit better.
That's really cool, man. That's really, really neat, and I apologize. I felt awful.
I can't believe you didn't see
I know, right? What a jerk I am. I'm the worst human being alive. Hey, but thanks for the text, though, buddy. I appreciate that. No, it was nice. It's just good to get the invite.
Social media over and over again. I can't control their algorithm.
Yeah. All right.
Maybe you have me muted on there, you know?
Oh, I got somebody. Who was it that posted that, like, we get enough of Jeremy after I posted that picture? It was JoJo, right? And I couldn't tell if he was being a dick or not. I was like, what?
I just said, this is so funny. I just told my wife the other day, I said, I've known JoJo for so many years that he writes stuff that makes him sound like a dick to me, but I think he's just joking, knowing him the way I know him. But I'm like, it's kind of borderline. I'm not sure yet.
And I look, I worked with JoJo in 2006. Like, I really like that. For people that don't remember, JoJo from JoJo and Reagan, or JoJo and Kenny over the years on Mix 106.5. A staple of radio here in our city. There would be times where he would do that to me. Like, I'd post something very innocuous on Facebook, like, I don't care for the new, Mumford & Sons song. And he would, like, say, like something like, because you're a douchebag with your tape. I'd be like, well, Jojo, what the hell? Like, what is it?
I think that's who he is.
Yeah.
So I wrote something for, I endorse plenty of different products, Acosta-Sin, things like that. And anytime I see anybody I'm endorsing sharing something new, I share it on my page. Because, look, and he just writes whore. Jesus, I don't think that's
well, in fairness,
called for, but okay.
Now, wait a second. Now, I'm willing to consider anything. How much money are they? Yeah. How much money are they making? Yeah, that was wild, dog. I was like, what the hell is that, man?
No, I love the guy. Look, I think
I
he's
love
great.
him too.
Even if he's not joking, I think he's great. So.
Yeah, even if he really hates us, like deep down inside, I still love the guy anyway. All right, you and I haven't talked since what happened last week. Let's put it to bed, and then we can talk a little bit about football from the weekend.
Yeah, look, you're talking about the Orioles, right?
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was peeing in public and getting arrested for it. If that's what you're not talking about.
Wait. Did that happen?
No, I was just throwing that out there.
Hang
I
on.
know where to pee in public and not be seen.
Can I tell you that I went to see Flogging Molly on St. Patrick? Flogging Molly, or maybe it was Dropkick Murphys. Now I can't remember which one of that's like one of those no strings attached friends with benefits problems where I never remember which one is one. One of them used to play Tempe Town Lake in Phoenix every year on St. Patrick's Day. And it was it was massive, right? Like, it was the party. And so in 2007 or whatever year it was, I was going to see him. It was also the day after the brackets were announced, and we were doing our show from a pub that day, and the guy that owned the pub just got me hammered. I mean, hammered ahead of time. So I was just drunk as hell on the air. I think we had John Bon Jovi on the show that day, too, and I'm like drunkenly trying to talk to John Bon. I mean, it was a disaster. So we're going to see
John Bon.
Yeah,
John Bon.
Right. I'm going to see Flogging Murphys or whatever the hell we're going to see at Tempe Town Lake. And
I think it was drop kicking Molly.
Drop kicking. I do. Some of us have drop kicked Molly a time or two. If that's a drug joke, not a violence towards women joke. I hope that was picked up. I've never done Molly for the record.
Poor Molly Kieran.
Yeah, right. She seems nice too, right?
Drop kick, bitch. No,
it was actually Molly Shannon. Weirdly enough.
Very nice.
Do you want to play the Molly game? Do you want to do it?
Yeah. She kept putting her hands on her armpits and smelling them like this. I remember. Yeah.
Superstar. Anyway, so the moral of the story being, I legitimately say to my buddy who came and picked me up, I was supposed to drive. I had to call my friend to come pick me up, and I had to track down another ticket to the show because I needed a driver to get to the concert because I was that hammered. So I track it down, and I call my buddy. He comes and gets me, and I'm like, bro, I have to pee. He's like, dude, we're almost there. We're going to park. I'm like, you don't understand. Find somewhere to pee. He's like, dude, we're there. I get out of the car, and I start peeing immediately, right? Immediately. I don't know where I am. I don't know where he's parked. I have to pee. He was like, well, I guess if you're peeing, I might as well pee too. So we're just sitting there peeing by the car, and within 3 seconds, cop pulls up. And I'm like,
my man.
Well, and I look at the guy, I said, dude, I love you, but I got to finish. There's just not a choice.
Just write me the ticket.
Like, go ahead, not a choice here. And he's like, go ahead.
That wasn't like, you sure it wasn't a men's rest stop and it was like something about Mary where it's like, yeah, we were all just peeing. Yeah, that's what we were
all
doing.
of us were just peeing. 8-minute abs? No, 7.
You can't even get your heart on. It's 7-minute abs.
7-minute abs.
Anyway.
So I get the guy comes up to me. He's like, look, man, I'm gonna be cool about this, and I'm not gonna give you. There's a school right down the street. I could give you whatever citation that would cause you to have to register as a sex offender for the rest of your life. And I was like, thank you. I greatly appreciate that.
Yeah, I don't want to be a sex offender for
peeing because I had to pee because I was.
I want to be a sex
work.
offender for being a sex offender.
Right? Yeah. Let me earn it the real way. Right?
God, that sounds awful.
What is wrong with us? What is this show? I asked you about the Orioles.
Yeah, now we're talking about sex offenders.
What
I don't
the
know
hell
how we
just
get here.
happened here?
The Orioles are sex offenders.
No.
Feels
Do
like
not
it.
say
Well,
that.
hold on. They are getting kids from Cuba that's under 16, right?
Oh, God. We got to stop.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Anyway, what you were saying.
Well, yeah, no, so this is to me, it's one of the funniest things just looking at the Orioles because, way back when the Orioles were on our airwaves and I would hear Steve Molesky doing the post game afterwards and I'm going, how the hell is he so positive about all this stuff? He doesn't even seem upset. And I'm going, it's ridiculous. He's just so positive. But Steve Molesky was right about all the things he was saying. And then now when you look at it, you're going to get these knee-jerk reactions. If we listen to the fans, Mike Elias would be fired. We would re-sign Corbin Burns and Santander. Elias gone, Hyde gone. Anybody that didn't get a hit in the AL in the AL playoffs,
right?
Yeah, you're gone. And that would probably be almost everybody. I mean, they scored one run off of a solo shot from Cedric Mullins. So for all the people who are like, I knew it, they didn't do enough at the trade deadline. I didn't hear any of you guys screaming about getting a bat. It was always Tarek Skubal, and as far as I look, they gave up 3 runs in 2 games.
Mm-hmm.
It's embarrassing that they scored 1. It's frustrating, but at the end of the day, I don't want anything to happen with Elias. I don't think they're signing Corbin Burns. I think they're going to take the draft pick. I don't think they're signing Santander, but they have a business model in place to make us competitive for a long time. And as soon as somebody gets a taste of success, it's like, oh my God, you got to push your chips all in the middle. And I don't know that I'm there yet with the way that this team is being built.
I don't know that I'm there to say you have to put all the chips in the middle. I do think that I can't just sort of say, I can't shrug it off. I do think that there is a fundamental problem with the core of players that is going to be the core. If you're going to win a World Series, it will be overwhelmingly because of this core group of players, right? You need to fortify it a little bit more. And for me to pretend like I'm not concerned about where a lot of those guys are in this process. It's easy to say, hey, some of these guys are young players. Hadley Rutschman's not a young player. God bless him. Brandon Hyde was trying to cover for him afterwards. Hey, it was a young player pressing. Dude, Hadley Rutschman's 26 years old. I
think he's hurt, and he's not. I think he's going through some injuries.
Right.
That's not serious enough to knock him out, but it's also serious enough to make him look the way that he did.
If it was serious enough to make him look the way that he did, then he shouldn't have been playing, right? And I'm not. I think I'd like to hope you're right, but it was disastrous. I mean, disastrous.
Well,
in the second
and that's why,
half.
to your point, I thought Brittany Giroli, for fans that feel, I thought she wrote an amazing article about now is the time for them to push their chips in and make some trade. But this year, as we're looking at everything, there's not a single trade out there that was made that I'm going, oh, I wish we had made that, except for maybe a couple of bullpen arms. But they were looking at that. They just got different guys that didn't work out. So. For the most part, Dominguez and Soto did work out, right? Soto had a terrible week, and Dominguez gave up a couple of home runs. Based on what we thought they could be within reason, they were absolutely those guys. They ended up finding too helpful. It's part of the problem with calling the trade deadline disastrous. It's the Trevor Rogers deal looks like an abomination right now. It looks. Well, we got him for 2 more years.
There's that, and if it changes, it changes. But right now, I have zero interest in 2 more years of Trevor Rogers.
I'm interested to see. He looked better going down to the minors, and he has talent. And I don't think they gave up as much as everybody thinks.
Yeah,
I like Norby.
That part I can argue. You can argue that part, but I do think Norby was a real piece. I think that's a real bat that could actually help you, especially at a time where you didn't have bats.
But he was never going to play here, though. You could. Jordan Westburg gets hurt, and obviously he's getting called up. But Jordan Westburg played third all year long, and then he comes back from the injury, and he's playing second in the playoffs.
But it
because
speaks
of how everything unfolded.
And it speaks to one of the other problems here, which is we got to address the Jackson Holiday thing, and to just say, well, he's 20, that's true. But there was nothing really more for him to do with the minor leagues. Like, that, both things can be true. And this he did not adjust to the major leagues. And I don't think that means that he's not going to be good, or I'm not trying to suggest anything like that. But there's an in-between between GOAT and trash. And we're in this in-between with a lot of these guys. Like, Colton Cowser is somewhere between a really good baseball player and trash. And that's the part of this that is concerning to me. Like, the real concern that I have, and if they had chosen to move on from Brandon Hyde, I would have said okay, because this core group of players has to be better. They're not, like, they made it very clear at the deadline, this is the group. Kobe Mayo is part of this group. Heston Kjerstad's part of this group, and they haven't really gotten the opportunity yet. But, like, this is the group, and this group right now, you ask me, hey, how do you feel about it? I would say, like,
they're even younger next year.
Yeah, I guess that's true, right?
Basayo's going to be getting called up.
Yeah.
And then you start thinking about, okay, where are you putting Mayo? Is that a trade in the offseason? Do you think he fits in here? Because they said they ultimately see him at first base.
Yeah, and
okay?
I thought all along that they'd move off of Mountcastle. Maybe next year instead they try to go in between and they have Mayo and O'Hearn split DH and hold on to Mountcastle.
I don't know that O'Hearn's going to be back, right? Like,
I don't. That's the number makes so much sense to me, man. Like.
No, I mean, I get that, because it feels like, okay, if you're gonna play this role, and let's say you do call Basayo up, that means that Adley's DHing or he's catching, or Basayo's DHing or he's catching. Those guys are both switch hitters, so it doesn't really matter.
Right.
Like, there's all different types of things you can do, but I think, like, ultimately, again, they got Zach Eflin. That's one of the best trades at the trade deadline. So you get him for next year. You'll get Grayson back.
Yep.
Bradish will be back late in the season, most likely, or not at all next year.
I do.
They've got some decisions to make.
I think they need to get one more top-ish of the rotation arm. Like, the drop off. I know
you're not expecting that to be Burns, though.
No, I don't think it's going to be Burns, but I really do. I think Eflin, Grayson, and if you add one more in, you feel really good. The group after that is just whoever's working in the moment, right? Like, and that's why I don't want all of a sudden to wake up and Dean Kramer or Albert Suarez has to be your number 3 pitcher going into the season. Like, is in line to potentially be a start. I like those guys, and God bless them. And if somebody gets hurt, you hope that you get the right few weeks out of those guys. But I can't be doing my math on how to win a World Series and saying, well, Dean Kramer or Albert Suarez is your number 3 starter. Like, that don't work for me. Like,
that's where Trevor Rogers is going to be.
That's a great point. Thank you. That is a great point. But no, like, O'Hearn. Like, if it's $8 million, it's $8 million for O'Hearn. Like, that to me, if you're making your decisions based on $8 million, there's a bigger problem here. There's a much bigger problem.
Okay, but where's Kjerstad playing then?
Well, I think that's the Santander question,
Kjerstad takes over for O'Hearn because they thought he was going to take over for Santander.
Well, if Santander's not back, then Kjerstad has to be your right fielder. Like,
could be, but some people have talked about moving Jackson Holliday to the
outfield. For who? Right? Like,
I mean, just. They eventually think that might be his final.
No, I get that, but then like who is your second baseman next year if that's the case? Are you just making Mateo an everyday player again?
I have no idea. Maybe you're looking for a third baseman on the open market.
And that's a fair argument. Like, but Westberg actually was not that good of a defensive third baseman. Or no, it was the other way around. He was a good defensive third baseman, but not a very good defensive. Double check me on that. That was the one that alarmed me. I was like, what? That's surprising when we actually looked in the
Turns out he was neither good nor bad at either position.
Right, correct.
Way to go, Glenn.
Yeah, thank you for nothing. No, but by the way, some of this is, I think it's a very fair conversation to have, which is, where are you getting your upgrade? Where are you going out and getting your veteran right-handed bat?
So, the name that's been thrown out by a bunch of people is Paul Goldschmidt.
Yeah.
But again, is that a DH? He's a good first baseman. His numbers have come down a little bit.
Significantly.
Yeah, and this is the point, like, I think a lot of people look at baseball as, it's free agency, you got to go get this guy, but not looking at age and all the things that factor in. And that's why I don't think they're going to sign Corbin Burns, because you get the first-round pick back even if he walks, which is of value to them. But at the same extent, I don't know what type of money he's going to garner on the open market. And is this a team that wants to lock up a starting pitcher at his age, which will be, 31, for 6 years? We haven't seen them do that. It doesn't mean the new regime won't. But again, my expectation is this wasn't what the plan was all along. And with the fact that they lost the postseason, I think they're going to be looking in a different direction.
Did you get the answer?
Yeah, he's a much better third baseman.
Yeah,
5. Is that what you said?
Yeah. I said it. I said that, and then I thought I might have been.
In more chances, he had 5 outs above average at third base.
Yeah.
-8 at second.
Yeah, which is weird because when
does
you watch him there, you didn't think he was a butcher, but like the metrics are what the metrics are, and you can't change that.
Do we have enough of a sample size to say that he is going to be a butcher? Because it's weird to say he's bad at second and he's good at third, which it seems like one's a little bit more difficult to play. You got to have the arm to have it, but maybe it's more comfortable for him. I don't know.
I don't have that answer, man. I don't have that answer. All right.
He had roughly the same amount of chances last year at second base as he did this year, and he was -1 outs above average.
So he wasn't as bad, but he still wasn't good.
Correct. At least according to the metrics.
How good is Griffin at looking up stuff?
Yeah, that's a great point. I would say he's like a -10 outs above average.
Yeah, he's a -8.
Yeah.
Having someone else look it up, he's a +5. So it's great.
That's the way that it goes. Jeremy Conn is with us. All right, where are you with the Davante Adams conversation?
Well, I think he was trolling everybody, and if you listen to him in the offseason, he said
he was a troll.
In the interview.
But I mean more like the debate between. I feel like there's two there's the opinion that some people have that like anytime there's any player that they've ever heard of, they're like, yes, put him on my team.
Like every Ravens fan.
Most of them. But there is a much larger group of Ravens fans that when this popped up last week said, I don't want to rock the boat. I mean, I did this with Would You Rather Wednesday last week. That just sort of said, like, this is working right now, and why bring in somebody that might demand the football a certain number of times or become mercurial and screw this up for you, which is an interesting thought. But what do you make of that as to whether or not it was involved in your decision if you'd be interested?
I don't know that he's that guy, though, that would cause any problems. He even said that he'd love to go to a winner and have a chance to compete for a Super Bowl, and he doesn't care how many times the ball is thrown to him. That's a little bit of BS because all wide receivers care about that stuff. I've said it before, wide receiver is the only position on the field where you can do everything right and never see the football, or pass catchers, I should say.
I feel like it's been it had been part of Rashad Bateman's story and everybody's frustration with Rashad Bateman, where you would go look at the film and be like, yo, he's running some really great routes.
Well, that's my thing. Like, in a trade for him, is Bateman in that trade to get him? Because he's going to replace him as the X, right? I mean, it's just kind of it's a tough thing it's a luxury to get Davante Adams. I love him. I think he's one of the best receivers in the league. He's one of the best route runners, period. And having a player like that, like, it's fun to finally have Derrick Henry and be able to root for those types of plays we saw on Sunday. They'll be like, damn, he did that to us again. And I think Davante Adams is that type of player. But again, I don't know. I don't like saying I don't know if you need him. Of course, everybody could use him. But again, it feels more like a luxury to get him than something that you need of substance right now.
I get the argument about the word need. I wouldn't say need. I do think, though, that this team, like, part of this comes to me I think this has to be an important year for trying to win a Super Bowl. Everything that you've been through, if there's not a heightened, like, we need to win a Super Bowl right now, I don't know what you're doing as an organization. And with that in mind, like, your games are in the margins. Like, I don't know. I think this is a good roster. If you want to say you got bigger problems, if you want to say, hey, look at your pass defense right now, like, yeah, that's a bigger problem. And if there's a cover corner that's available, I don't know, or a Marcus Williams replacement that's available, I'd be listening to that. And I'd still probably be interested in even another edge rusher. But I just can't be opposed to the idea of Davante Adams. Like, I can't do that.
Again, no, and I'm not, and I feel like the cap hit would be superior friendly, like, as what they were talking about. Because, like, anybody wants to trade for Amari Cooper right now, it's like no cap hit at all. It's a couple $100,000. So, I mean, they can go out and get their whatever they need, second-round pick. They think they're going to get for him. But with Davante Adams, you're talking about a difference maker. And, again, I think they had worked his deal where the cap hit, the Raiders would have to eat most of it.
Yes.
But that's the one thing. If you're bringing a guy in like that, then – does that prohibit you from keeping a pass rusher, signing somebody else? Is there – because we already think that there's going to be some cap casualties next year in the offseason. Everybody keeps bringing up Mark Andrews' name after watching how this year's gone, but who knows? I don't know what they're going to do. And to me, more so than baseball, football is chess, not checkers.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you. I do hear you on that. I don't know. It's a compelling conversation to me, and I don't have the answer for it whatsoever.
I think everything between you and I is a compelling conversation.
Well, I don't know. Maybe not talking about sex offenders. Maybe that might be. That might be.
I think we should do a 3-hour show on sex offenders.
God.
Brought to you by Subway. Maybe that's not right either. So.
Hey, thank you for that. Hey, did you watch Jailbreak, by the way, on Netflix by chance?
Jailbreak?
Yeah, that's the story of the lady that was a corrections officer that
slept with the guy.
Yes.
Killed? Or got arrested. I don't remember how that ended.
She offed herself because she realized that she had been caught and she was going to end up having to go to jail. So she offed herself at the end. I mean, somebody's going to say spoiler. It was a thing that happened. It was on the news. Like, settle down. Yo, it is wild, man. Like, is
it a documentary or a real movie?
It's a documentary. Then
I'm in.
It's wild, dude. Like, I have greatly. I sat down and started watching it the other night, and I watched the entire thing straight through. It was every time they interview one of these people, like they interview the prisoners that were like, and they take their thought process. It's like they're interviewing Phil Jackson in the Michael Jordan documentary, right? Like they're interviewing a meth head, and like they're interviewing him like they're interviewing someone that has like some really deep thoughts about like, yo, he just must have been deeply in love with her. Like, yeah, that's probably what it is, and not at all that he was trying to manipulate his way out of prison. I'm sure that's what it is, Chris. You figured it out.
Those are the types of things, though. Like, I love those stories, and like, I watch so many documentaries. I think Shane Gillis was right when he talks about at some point you turn into your dad and you're starting to watch the History Channel more.
Yeah, there's lots of that.
I don't know. I'm just really interested in all that stuff, but so many good documentaries out there, and ones that'll break your heart and make you cry.
I am still more basic white girl when it comes to this stuff. Like, I will watch every murder, sex offender, like a documentary that's made.
Here you go again with sex offenders.
I will watch every single one of them. I don't care how many they make. I'll keep watching them. Every single one.
So I finished watching The Rings of Power. The Lord of the Rings thing?
You and I never had our Lord of the Rings conversation?
Well, if you could send somebody over here to tell me what the hell happened in those 2 seasons, I greatly appreciate it. And this is from a guy that followed Game of Thrones and had no issues with everyone's name. So this is just like...
I won't do it. I refuse. I have not watched a single Lord of the Rings anything since the first Lord of the Rings movie when I gave up surefire coitus in order to watch... the short guy walk around for 3 hours and do nothing, and then punch his fat friend in the arm and say, "Hey, buddy, glad to have you for the ride," and then the movie just ended.
Awesome.
And I
love The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, but I did not understand anything. Like, I watched so much television, I did not understand anything that went on in that Lord of the Rings show.
I'm not going to be able to help you here because there will never be a day. I don't care what I'm missing. I don't care how many people try to tell me it's the greatest cinema ever. You lost me. You lost your chance, Peter Jackson. You lost your opportunity. You made me waste 3 hours of my life and sure thing coitus, and I will not go back. It will never happen. I will die having never watched another second of a Lord of the Rings film after that first movie.
Because you didn't get the coitus, or what?
A little bit about the coitus, more just about I'm offended by you giving me 3 hours of walking around. Like all of the people that were trying to be like, well, they were setting up the next movie. Then just go to the next movie. I don't need 3 hours of walking around. Start it on number 2. Do
One
something.
ring to rule them all.
Look, I know Spider-Man 3 sucked and also cost me coitus. They're the 2 films that cost me. That I think about all the time because of how bad they are, but at least they did something in the movie. It sucked. It was terrible, but at least something happened. At least there was some sort of action. This was nothing. It reminded me of this season of The Bear, which, sucked. Sucked. They just never got to it. God, do something. I feel like talking to the Ravens defense in the third quarter yesterday with a meme with a stick, like just poking at him. Do something. Come on, do something. That's what it was.
Man, this is great.
I love you. At ConcreteLocks.com, Big Bad Morning Show, 105.7 The Fan, at JCon Sports. Thank you, pal. Thank you for
Sorry, man.
See you next week.
See you.
It's Jeremy Conn with us every Monday here in GCR. Do something. Just anything. Do anything. I don't know how anyone enjoyed it. It was Stecco who was trying to fight me about the Bear.
You know what sucked?
What?
Joker 2.
Oh, you went?
Oh,
After we found out that it sucked, you still went?
So my sister came home this weekend, and she was like, I really want to see a movie. And I was like, I heard it's not getting good reviews.
You should have gone to Transformers.
Literally, we got there, I was like, oh, there's a Transformers at the same time. Are you sure we can't do Transformers? And she was like, I really want to see Joker. And I was like,
you couldn't have done the bit like, well, maybe you go see Joker and I'll see Transformers and I'll see you later. It's your sister. Like, you don't have any,
you're right.
You don't have any obligation. It's one thing, like, you're dating someone and you.
Yeah, you're right.
Like,
you're
this
right.
is your. You 100% could have been like, we're adults.
Now she knows though that I get to overrule from now on. I mean, I don't know why I ever gave her the chance.
Yeah, that's really a mistake on your part. That's you gotta you screwed this up. Like 100%, you should have just.
Well,
been
so
like,
I
hey,
was
look.
like. I don't really know if I even want to go to the movie. Like, there's really nothing else out right now. And then when once we got there, I was like, all right, we're here, so let's see Transformers, huh?
Right. It's apparently beautiful.
Yeah.
Apparently, it's a beautiful film. I don't know what the hell happened there.
After it was over, we were walking by another theater, and I heard a bunch of banging and stuff, and I was like, oh, it's got to be Transformers. I ran in there. I was like, come on, it's got to be like almost over. Like, let's just watch a little bit of it. It ended up being literally the final 5 seconds of Beetlejuice.
Oh, okay.
So
I had fun at Beetlejuice. It's the only movie that I've seen.
You saw Beetlejuice?
I've seen like 3 movies all year. I've seen Inside Out 2.
Not bad.
The Garfield movie and Beetlejuice. That's my list.
You got. I
didn't even get to see Deadpool because by the time I had time to go see it, I was like, well, everybody else has seen it. I'll just wait now and watch it for free.
I haven't seen Deadpool yet either.
How is that possible?
I don't know. I guess the timing lined up.
You do
August.
these things.
Yeah, I know. You got to see Twisters. You got to see Dune 2. Well, I guess you haven't seen Dune 1.
I know I watched Dune 1. It just
okay.
it didn't do it for me.
No,
it's not
Dune
my
2
thing.
does it for me.
Okay, all right. Did you get a popcorn bucket? Is that the reason why I did it for you?
No, I didn't. I wish I would have.
Wondering what you're doing with that popcorn bucket over there.
The popcorn bucket.
I will also.
Joker was
I swear
bad.
to God, I will go see the new Venom movie. I don't care how much you guys make fun of Venom. I will go see it.
Why?
You guys
Why
have
do you have
always
to
been
see it?
because everybody. It actually is now like a
my-
crusade.
They did.
People clown Venom so much. Go F yourself. The movies are fun. Shut up. You guys are. This is douchebag groupthink.
They did it's probably on YouTube or somewhere now, but they did a 3-minute Venom ad with Dana White at the beginning of the pay-per-view on Saturday night.
All right, I might.
It was.
Did they do with somebody else too? Didn't somebody else do a Venom ad recently, like an athlete of some sort?
Maybe. I don't know.
Patrick Mahomes or somebody like that, maybe. I feel like that's been
that sounds like something he might do.
Yeah, I feel like that's been a common theme. I don't care. The douchebag group thinkery that has existed surrounding the Venom movies can F all the right off.
There was
all
one
the
with
way
Dak
off.
Prescott.
That's who it was.
I don't think I saw that one.
Exactly who it was.
No, but yeah, it was Dana White and Sean O'Malley and it was.
Okay, I'm good on that.
Well, Sean O'Malley's good.
Yeah, I'm sure.
He's a good guy.
I'm sure. Actually, you know what? I might have even seen. No, he did another commercial recently. Sean O'Malley.
Probably. He's capitalizing on his.
Yeah, he did a
stardom.
different. I did see him in something, but I don't remember what it was. It was some other ad that I was served. I get different ads because I watch everything on apps. I don't watch TV anymore. So I see all these ads and I try to talk to people about them and they're like, I've not seen it, and I'm like,
I know if I ever something I'm on I watch YouTube a lot, so if I talk about it, I get this ad all the time. It's
yeah,
I don't know what.
Well, I got the David Ortiz ad
I don't know what
80 times a game during Orioles season. And I kept trying to reference it because I like to throw in slick references times where I'm like, I'm as confused as I am about what David Ortiz was saying in that ad. And I remember bringing that up at some point and people just looking at me like, what ad are you talking
I remember
about?
We talked about it and I was like, I don't think I have. And I couldn't find it.
And I'm pretty sure he's saying put me in. I think I figured that out. That's what it was. But you could not tell that unless you knew ahead of time that's what he was saying. That was the take they used. How many times they did that? They used the take where it sounded like he was saying, they just said, we've got a commercial. Go for it. God. You know what ad I get all the time that is good? Is the butterscotch candy, the Kevin Hart, LeBron James.
Oh, yeah. Those aren't bad.
That's a good ad. No, most of them suck. Most of the Kevin Hart, LeBron James ads suck.
I don't think I could pick out any.
But the butterscotch
one.
candy one, the one where they're like, the NFL, they want somebody who can run a 40, not who is 40.
Oh, yeah.
What are you gonna do? Give them butterscotch candies when it was that actually was a good one. Most of them have been bad, but that one was actually good. Stand by. Got one more break to take. We'll come back in, get a tidbit, get tubular. Start winding things down. Don't forget, for all the latest in high school sports news, go to countysports.zone. It's proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. Every score from every team at every school, everywhere in the state, they've got you covered. Countysports.zone, proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Glenn Clark Radio.
Experience the thrill of the Mars Maryland 5-Star at Fair Hill, presented by Brown Advisory, coming October 17th to the 20th. See the world's best equestrians compete in the sport of eventing, the ultimate test of horse and rider. Enjoy a weekend festival featuring locally sourced food at the Fresh Food Fest, a beer, wine, and spirits showcase, shopping, and fun for all ages. Check out the Maryland Corgi Cup, interactive kids corner, and more. It's the place to be in October. Visit maryland5star.us for tickets.
Treat yourself and taste the Baltimore tradition that is the legendary Costas Inn. Hey, it's Stan the Fan Charles. For over 50 years, the Costas Inn has been a Baltimore original, dishing out their legendary fat, delicious, award-winning crab cakes and steamed crabs. It's crab season, so sit back and crack some crabs while watching the Birds pursue another divisional title on Costas's 15 TVs. On Monday night, the Costas Inn offers their half-pound jumbo lump crab cake with 2 sides for under $30. So head on down to the Costas Inn today at 4100 North Point Boulevard or visit them at costasin.com.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
The drug scene in Maryland is changing. Fentanyl and xylazine are being added to street drugs, and you may not even know it. Xylazine is not even intended for humans, and fentanyl is an opioid 50 times stronger than heroin and contributed to over 80% of overdose deaths in our state. Anyone who uses drugs, even occasionally, is at risk of overdose. To learn more, visit stopoverdose.maryland.gov or call or text 988.
The votes were all counted, and the results are official. Royal Farms was named #1 for food in the USA Today 10 Best poll, receiving more votes than any other convenience store chain in America. The next time you want to get some good food fast, doesn't it make sense to go to Royal Farms? Voted best in the USA and home of world-famous chicken. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Bo Smolka profiles Ravens star safety Kyle Hamilton, detailing his path from growing up the son of a basketball player to choosing football, being overlooked in the draft, and turning into a defensive unicorn as a playmaking Swiss Army knife in the NFL. Also inside, meet college football players from all of the area's D1 programs and some of the area's college soccer standouts as well. Pressbox is available for free at over 500 locations throughout the region, including 60 Royal Farm stores. Or you can read the entire issue at PressBoxOnline.com, where you can also find great betting advice and the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps.
One of the things that's definitely wrong with this country is that this dude still has a job somehow, some way. Glenn Clark.
All right, back in here on GCR as we are winding down for a Monday edition of the program. Coming up a little bit later on today, Stan the Fan Charles, Ross Grimsley, Luke Jackson are going to get together to put the finishing touches on the Orioles season, unfortunately, and talk about the rest of the playoffs, which do continue later on today as well. You can watch Stan, Ross, and Luke today. Luke is out today. Shane Turner is in. Sorry, I apologize. Stan did tell us that. Stan Ross and Shane Turner coming up today, 5 o'clock. That show, facebook.com/PressBoxSports. All right, you ready to get a tidbit?
Have you ever thought of taking a cruise to these wonderful destinations with sunny skies and beautiful beaches? Well, wait no longer. We're ready for you to cruise from the Cruise Maryland Terminal.
Have a little phrase that you can go from baggage to margarita in about 15 minutes.
Choose fun with an array of destinations, onboard activities, entertainment, and world-class cuisine.
Contact your travel agent and book your cruise today. Let your adventure begin.
All right, what you got?
Baseball did happen this weekend as well, believe it or not. There was and the Mets were had some pretty exciting games, more Mets comebacks. But this tidbit does not have to do with their actual comebacks. They started Kodai Senga on Saturday, so Game 1 of their NLDS series with the Phillies, And he became only the third pitcher to start a postseason game after making 1 or 0 appearances, MLB appearances that season. He became the third pitcher to ever do that.
Was it Matt Moore for the? There was a Rays pitcher, wasn't there?
Not on this list. Not on the list I have here from Sarah Lanks.
I'm gonna look.
So
up.
it was also the Braves Game 1 starter for the wild card series on Tuesday.
Well, but it wasn't.
Well, he.
It wasn't who we thought it was going to be.
Right, it was somebody
It was,
else.
and I can't remember. It's something with an S.
Yeah, 2 S's. AJ Smith-Shaver.
Thank you.
Shaver.
Shaver, I think, yeah.
But yeah, so he became the second to ever do it, and then Senga became the third to ever do it. The first person to do this started. He started. 2.
Oh, you said appearances.
Yes.
Matt Moore only made 1 start, but he had 3 appearances. He pitched twice out of the bullpen. Okay.
Yes. The first person to ever do this. So the last time this happened was 1945.
Oh. Well, then it was obviously.
He started 2 World Series games after returning from World War II.
Oh, it was all a Dixie Ball Doodle, right?
No, close. He's got a great name though.
I don't know who was
Virgil Trucks.
Ah, Virgil Trucks. Yeah.
Virgil Trucks.
All Virgil.
Commanders' first team since the merger to score 150 points in their first 5 games of the season while starting a rookie at quarterback. He's the first quarterback to average 30 points a game. First rookie quarterback to average 30 points a game.
I mean,
through 5 games.
He's remarkable. And I love Jaden Daniels coming out. I don't know if I would have had the balls taken number 1 over Caleb Williams, but there was so much to like about Jaden Daniels. And by the way, Caleb Williams looked really good. I mean, they were playing Carolina, but he looked really good yesterday.
Joe Burrow has the highest completion percentage, 72.3%, and the highest passer rating, 113.6, by a quarterback to start the season 1-4 in NFL history.
I'm telling you, I got to do power rankings every week, and my rule is always you have to make the record has to matter. You can't. There are areas where it might I think the 49ers 2-3 are still better than some teams are, but the records are supposed to matter. But man, it's really hard with the Bengals because I'm telling you the Bengals are better than this. I can only have them so low.
Why aren't they better then?
Their results aren't better. I get it.
Derrick Henry has become he's joined a list of only so he's the 3rd player now.
With 100.
No, I'm not going to do those yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He's 3rd player. This is from Pro Football Reference, so StatHead. Age 30 or older, 3rd player to have at least 500 rushing yards and 5 rushing touchdowns through the first 5 games of the season.
500 rushing yards.
5 touchdowns.
And 5 touchdowns.
30 or older.
It's very specific.
Only 2 others at age 30 have done.
All time.
5, yes.
So that makes you think that they're older guys, but I don't. All right. Did Barry Sanders barely played after he was 30?
Not Barry Sanders.
That's because he barely played after he was 30. I don't even know if he did. He might have been 29 when he retired. I mean, Barry Sanders retired so young. Frank Gore.
Not Frank Gore. So the 2 guys that also did this were both 31, and they both did it in 2004.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So that would be 2004. Sean Alexander?
Not Sean Alexander. His best age 28 season was the closest. He had 508 touchdowns.
2004. Is Corey Dillon 30 at that point?
Not Corey Dillon.
Jerome Bettis 30 at that point?
Not Jerome Bettis.
Oh, boy. Well, LaDainian wasn't that old at that point.
I'm
going to go the other.
Both AFC teams.
Both AFC teams. Who was still hanging on in 2004? Eddie George still hanging on in 2004?
He might have been, but he was not. He was not at this level.
Fred Taylor still hanging on in 2004?
Not Fred Taylor.
2004 AFC team. Edgerrin James wasn't 30 at that point. Ah, God, man. Who is still hanging on that would have been 30?
Have a Jet.
Jet.
And a Chief.
Chief. So the Chief is Priest?
Priest Holmes. Priest Holmes in 2004 at age 31. 550 yards and 6 rushing touchdowns.
The Jet is Curtis Martin?
It is, in fact, Curtis Martin.
I did not realize Curtis Martin was still... All right.
Well done. You got that.
Well, yeah, okay, after I got the teams.
So to your point that you were making earlier about, all these games being close, there have been 46 games decided by 7 points or fewer, and 40 games decided by 6 points or fewer.
Sorry, Proctor would have gotten both of these guys, by the way. Sorry, John. He had him both. Not immediately. He guessed Emmitt Smith, then Curtis Martin, then Frank Gore.
Well, maybe he can get my Joe Flacco one. Anyway, games are being way closer, like the closest they've been. Most such games in NFL history through 5 weeks, decided by less than touchdowns. Flacco, 21-yard scramble yesterday. We all saw it. His longest run since
the first game of his career.
No,
when he ran for a touchdown.
2017, he had a 20-plus run at some point in 2017.
I don't remember it, but sure.
He is the only player in the NFL with 2 touchdown passes in his last 7 games that he's played in.
The only. Well, yeah, I think I did see that.
Active, current players.
Yeah.
And then where was the other one I had for Flacco here? Oh, I copy it. This is also from NFL from NFL Media. Flacco is the oldest player in NFL history to record 5 consecutive starts with 300 passing yards and 2 touchdown passes. Oldest player to do that 5 games consecutively.
Congratulations. He lost, though. For what it's worth.
Does it matter?
Does matter.
Fourth quarterback in NFL history with 7 consecutive games of 2 or more touchdowns at age 38 or older.
Remarkable.
Who are the 3 others?
3 others. 4 consecutive games.
38 or older.
38 or older.
With 2 touchdown passes. 4.
Tom Brady.
7 consecutive games. Yes, Tom Brady is one of them. 9 consecutive games. Wow, I did it twice.
Specifically at that age. Let's say Drew Brees.
Not Drew Brees.
Let's say a Proctor wants Vinny Testaverde.
No Vinny.
Brett Favre.
No Brett Favre.
How about Joe Montana?
Not Joe Montana.
Hauser's bouts. How many consecutive games? 7? 7 is so many.
Yeah.
That's so many. I don't think it's Ben Roethlisberger.
It has not been.
7 is a lot.
Did he start 7 consecutive games late in his career?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point, too. Well, I think if he didn't play, though, it doesn't count. Like, you could take a week off in between. Proctor wants Steve Young.
Not Steve. Steve Young.
Yeah.
No, not Steve Young.
How about... Jesus, this is tough. We know he was really bad right at the end, but maybe Peyton.
Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
9 consecutive games.
It wasn't that last season, because that last season was an abomination.
It was 2014. Was that when he set the... No, 2012 was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Was 20 that was his second to last season?
2015 was his last season.
Yeah.
Because they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So, this
that season was ungodly in 2015, and then they won the Super Bowl because nothing in the world makes sense. Proctor wants Phil Rivers.
Not Phil Rivers.
Old quarterbacks. Old guys. Ryan Fitzpatrick.
No, not Fitzpatrick. Solid guess.
Man.
He did it in...
Hang on. I don't know that I'm there yet, but I'm going to get there quick. How about John Elway?
Not John Elway.
Okay. He wants Marino.
Not Marino.
How about... God. I don't know. Should we be going back a ways?
1995.
1995 was 38 years old in 1995. Warren Moon.
Bam! All he needed was the year.
Bam!
8 straight games of 2+ touchdowns with the
this guy
Viking
over here.
at the time.
Look at this guy.
His third to last team, by the way.
Look at this guy over here. Oh, Proctor got it too, by the way, on that. And look at us. Who would have thought? Not me. All right, very good. Let's get tubular.
And kick the field goal.
Yeah, that was something else entirely. I don't know what it was, but it wasn't that. It sounded a little bit like Jason Benetti, if I had to be honest. Don't know what it was, but I always love it when we nail it. That's the best part. When you stick the landing, when you get to celebrate like your pommel horse guy, you're like, got it. Look at us.
Experience the thrill of the Mars Maryland 5-Star at Fair Hill, presented by Brown Advisory, coming October 17th to 20th. See the world's best equestrians compete in the sport of eventing, the ultimate test of horse and rider. Enjoy a weekend festival featuring local food, shopping, and fun for all. Come for the event and stay for the experience in Cecil County, home to the Chesapeake Bay waterfront, vibrant small towns, and family entertainment. Tickets on sale now at maryland5star.us.
All right, here's what's coming up this evening and this afternoon, too, totally tubular-wise. Of course, Monday Night Football to wrap up Week 5. Saints-Chiefs, 8:15 on ESPN. There's a Manning cast on ESPN, too. Baseball this afternoon, Game 2 of the ALDS, Tigers and Guardians at 4:08. Tarek Skubal and Matthew Boyd, the pitching matchup there. Royals-Yankees, Game 2. Boy, the Yankees got the favor of a BS call on Saturday night, huh? It's weird. That almost never happens. Game 2, 7:38, Cole Reagans and Carlos Rodon, the pitching matchup for that one. Preseason basketball. We're into that. Wow. Thunder Spurs, 8 o'clock on NBA TV, USA Network for WWE Monday Night Raw tonight at 8. Non-sports.
Non-sports-wise,
By the way,
60 minutes.
Exactly as I expected with the baseball this weekend, nobody paying attention.
I mean,
if you're not in the markets, if you're not in those cities, it's getting buried going up against football. And you could say, hey, well, that's always going to be the case. But the wild card round should be the one buried.
The Mets did their best to try and get a little bit of attention.
And their need, I guess.
Yeah,
but then the Phillies rallied back.
I mean, and then Jurickson Profar, just with the delay. So
that last night was the only time that anybody really got to pay any attention, was because there was a rain delay in the football game.
I'm trying to think of what else happened. Yeah, I guess that was it.
It got for those that missed it afterwards. Like, it started with Jurickson Profar's catch, and then somebody
Flaherty was chirping.
Jack Flaherty was chirping with Manny Machado. Then some Dodgers fans started throwing stuff on the field at Profar, and it was very
could have gotten ugly, I guess.
Padres won 10-2 to even up that series.
The Menendez brothers documentary. So there's now Netflix
this is
an actual documentary.
They're America's sweethearts all of a sudden. The Menendez brothers.
Everybody wants.
That's who we are.
What would you do? Season 17. So
this is not, as we discovered before, this is not the old Nickelodeon show. What would you do? This is some other dumb thing.
You've never heard of John Quinones?
Yeah, no. When this happened the first time, you told me all about it, and I was like, sure.
Yeah.
Go ahead, keep going.
All right, well, I'm excited about it. I guess I'm not sure I'll watch it, but I am excited that John Quinones might be coming back.
Excited about everything you want to be excited
Henrik
about.
Lundqvist will be on Fallon because, I don't know.
Sure.
Along with Vampire Weekend. And Tim Waltz and Judd Apatow will be on Kimmel.
Are they now? Are they promoting Beetlejuice? Tim Waltz
is it? Maybe that is what
Judd Apatow.
Tim Waltz is just like, man, I really love that
I
movie.
just really genuinely enjoyed Beetlejuice. Wanted to come talk to you about it.
And then 60 Minutes is doing their election special tonight.
But Donald Trump said, I'm good.
I
think
so.
it's just Kamala that agreed to participate in this one, if I remember correctly.
Probably.
She's not busy doing Call Her Daddy.
My mom was like, why is there no 60 Minutes tonight? And then the first commercial that they played during the Ravens game.
Nothing
was
ever gave me more anxiety than hearing that when you were growing up and they would do the promo for 60 Minutes during the football game, and you would realize it was coming. Like, you would realize 60 Minutes was
football's over. The weekend's over.
The football's over. The weekend's over. You got to go to bed. You got to go to school on Monday. This is the night. For whatever reason it is, parents, that one. You heard it, and the anxiety all came like coursing through your veins. Because parents, there's one night a week that they will never let you stay up late. It's Sunday night. Like, they convince themselves that somehow it's different. Well, it's a new week. We're coming back from the weekend. You got to get to bed early. You'd be like, dude, but there's a football game on tonight. I want to watch the football game. Nope. You got to go to bed early tonight to be prepared for the start of the new week. And then you'd realize that you had homework that you didn't do because you were too busy running around with your friends that weekend. Oh, God. That 60 Minutes tick was just I still to this day hear it and feel the anxiety pings of being a younger man. Also, I'm
never gonna be a fan of 60 Minutes.
My parents played in a bowling league when I was a kid, so we were at my grandparents' house on Sundays, and my grandmother would allow us to watch Murder, She Wrote after the football games.
Nothing wrong with that.
And then we were supposed to go to bed. So that was the last thing I got my weekend as a child. As an 8-year-old, was getting to watch Angela Lansbury. That was how my weekend came to a close. I was granted the opportunity to watch Murder, She Wrote before I had to go to bed on Sunday nights.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else?
No, that's it.
All right. Very good. Thanks today to Dan Wilcox. Thanks to Femi Ayanbadejo. And thanks as well to Jeremy. We'll get it all up in the greatest hits section of the
Here we go.
tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. He didn't prepare anything. He just sort of defaulted. That's fine. I don't know what we're doing. We'll keep figuring it. They beat the Steelers. So you know what? Let's support and honor them for having done that.
Steelers.
Tomorrow on the program, it's Tuesday, so we'll catch up with Joe Serpico. As I mentioned, Eli Heidenreich from Navy coming off their huge win over Air Force on Saturday, and stuff and things. Stuff and things. Big stuff and things today. Yeah. Thanks to everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including the Maryland 5-Star Live Casino and Hotel, Cruise Maryland, Ocean City, Easy Pass, Royal Farms, the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbooks in Towson and Canton, HelpMyGamblingProblem.org, Costa Sin, MSAA, CIAA Tournament, the Baltimore Orioles, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great Monday evening. Go nobody. Wait, no, go Royals. What are we doing about that? No, I don't care about that. Nobody cares about
38
that. No,
points
nobody cares.
From
are we
Butker
doing,
and Kamara.
Are we doing Go Royals or not?
I don't think so. I mean, I guess.
You don't want to do it?
sure.
I still feel like we should.
Go anyone but the Yankees.
Yes,
we can do
correct.
that.
And that would be the Royals this evening.
Yeah.
Duke sucks.